All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to episode 28 of Ken's Counseling Couch. I am your host, Ken Jennings, KF. The KF you guys can figure out on your own if you don't know. If so, if not, whatever. If you already know, welcome to the club. So sorry for the delay. I'm obviously a boomer because I can't do a damn thing right when it comes to computers anymore, it feels like. So there you go. Today's stream is part of the effort to get back to the roots of this show. Where we've been and the stupid shit that's gone on has annoyed the hell out of me in ways that can hardly describe. And so what my plan today is to go over, it's an older issue, but surprisingly, you'll still find a lot of journal articles and different things on this case because at the time it was truly profound what the family was trying to do and what the family did do for their daughter. And there was, and still remains, a lot of controversy over what this family did to help treat their daughter. And, you know, some people disagree with that approach. And I personally think it's an interesting case because I have my own views on it, and I'm going to save those for the end on whether or not I believe what these parents did is unethical or ethical, whether this was the right choice or whether this was the wrong choice, because I don't believe you can really make a right or wrong decision when you're in that situation in a general context, right? Obviously, you can make the really stupid decisions of like abuse and neglect, but outside of that, when you're put in these very complex situations, you are left with, you're making decisions that no parent should ever have to make, that no person should ever really be put in a position for. And it also brings up its own discussion on, you know, if you're a parent of a child like that or if you know a child's going to be born with severe disabilities, you know, what's the right answer? Is it okay to do this? Should, you know, because that's a whole issue on abortion. You could have that debate about, right? Is it the right decision? Is it okay to do that? Is it fair to the parents? Is it fair to the child? Should a child with that limited level of ability be able to live in the world? Should they? I mean, I don't believe there's a right answer. And I know that sounds stupid, but I promise you it's not. Because the case we're going to talk about today is the case of Ashley X. So, no, that's not what this is about, Karen Killjoy. No, this is the case of Ashley X. So what happened is in the early 2000s. So here's what I'll do is I will pull up, where the hell did it go? Also, part of the issue I had getting ready was a lot of the stuff I had pulled up and prepared seemed to have just disappeared on me. So let's find, okay, don't need that. Don't need that. Definitely don't need that. Okay. Oh, excuse me. All right. So close that window. Don't need that. All right, pull this back up. Perfect. All right, so I need all of these windows back up. I love some of these. If you don't have some really awesome Chrome extensions, you're missing out. Because there's some really great ones. For example, one of my favorite ones is Better One Tab, which helps you because I'm like me, I always put a bunch of tabs in the same window. I've legitimately run over 1,000 tabs on my mobile device. I think at one point I hit 2,000 on my phone. Don't ask how I did it. And it was probably not the brightest thing to do, but that's what happens when you have attention and focus issues. Oh well. All right, let's see here. Where'd it go? Okay, I think I can minimize that. And I need to bring this window over here. Yes, I'm doing this. We're doing it live. So what I will do is I'll give you a summary of it, and I want to pull up a picture. If you saw the thumbnail, you saw the picture of the child in question. So the pictures in that thumbnail are of Ashley X. Her full name, to my understanding, is still unknown. The family wished to remain anonymous because, surprisingly, it caused a shitload of backlash, especially from the disability rights community at the time, and which I thought was interesting because I figured this would be something parents would want if you're in that situation. So where'd the pictures go? I'll pull up a picture of Ashley just for reference, and then we'll get started on this. While I'm doing that, how's everyone doing? I know it's been a bit since I'm streaming. I've been dealing with some, we've had some family stuff happen recently again. So we've been trying to take care of that, you know, family first. So it's not that I don't care about you guys, but family has to come first, and it should come first for everybody. Why is the freaking... I do not know. So that's why I haven't streamed as much as I'd like to. I will be streaming more. I am putting it on my schedule to definitely. I will be streaming significantly over the next probably couple months. And if it takes off, it takes off. If not, oh well. But I love doing this, and maybe we could see if this can be something I do on a regular basis. Because, for example, this case, I find it extremely interesting. I think it requires an in-depth look on it because, just like any of the other stuff I talked about, it's very easy to not truly understand what's going on. It's easy for people of different sides to take, you know, their specific views on it, and they won't let go of it, and they'll hold the line. And I have that meme if I need to from the Patriot, hold the line. So where is my stupid window with the StreamYard in it so I can see the chat? Oh, that'll work. Okay. Yeah, it does. It's never killed my phone. What it does is with if you have that many tabs open and then you enable a certain amount of flags in Chrome, you can have it suspend tabs that are inactive, so they don't use memory as much. So, but when I did open Chrome, it would take a bit before it would go through all the tabs to bring them back up. So eventually, the issue was I had a lot of information in the tabs I needed to export, but Chrome on Android doesn't have a feature to export all your information, whereas other browsers do. So I use other browsers primarily if I'm on mobile on important things. So I just had the damn thing. Here we go. Perfect. Open image in tab. So you'll see and hear this child be referred to by the term pillow angel, or you'll hear the term pillow angel be referenced several times in different contexts as it relates to this. And that's more of a term of endearment from the family for their child, right? It's not meant to be harmful or offensive. This was a family who was put into a really shit situation because of a diagnosis they didn't get until only a few years ago. They never really knew what was wrong with their daughter. So here, I'll pull up this one because I think this one's probably the best one. Where'd it go? Here we go. Open in new tab. Perfect. And StreamYard. Where'd you go? Perfect. All right. So let's do this. So share the screen. So I'm going to put this up while I explain this situation to you. Yeah. I think it's this one. All right. So this is Ashley X. She's the little girl on the far right that's face isn't blanked out. And before anyone freaks the hell out, let me go ahead and put this disclaimer at the bottom. The pictures being shown of this child were released by the family, and the family's been okay with these pictures being released to their daughter. They're doing it as a way to help bring awareness to not only their daughter's situation, but showing the effectiveness in their eyes of this treatment method. So, what happened for Ashley, and I'm going to remove that stupid ticker now. All right. So, Ashley is a child who was born in 1997, I believe. Trying to pull up my stupid little notes here. So Ashley was born in 1997, and the gist of it is effectively she was unable to have. So she was born with this. Let me go ahead and read this to you real quick. So Ashley was born with a severe brain impairment of a genetic cause. It was a specific gene that in 2016 they found the answer for after doing a specific type of gene sequencing. They figured out what it was. It wasn't the fault of say, because some people have made the accusation that the child had fetal alcohol syndrome or some other things. It wasn't the fault of the parenting. It was a genetic defect. And so it wasn't anything along those lines. Just to make sure I put that out there and clarify that, because that has actually been accused of the parents a lot. So she was diagnosed with severe brain impairment termed a static encephalopathy, which is a disease of the brain, usually chronic and degenerative. There's a bunch of different things that can happen with that. So it doesn't improve. There's no getting better with this, right? It's that bad. So this kid is, diagnosed with this condition, and there's really nothing they can do to make it better. She has the cognitive function of an infant, right? She sleeps and wakes. She breathes on her own. She can't raise her head. She can't sit up. She can't hold anything. She cannot walk. She cannot talk. She has to be fed with a feeding tube. That's the severity of the child's impairment, right? We're not talking just some mild issue. No, we're talking some hardcore disability here, right? And I don't mean that in any offensive way. I mean, this is a severe disability, and it sucks to have be a parent and have this happen. I don't think, and some parents become very good at dealing with it. I don't know how I would. I can't imagine the stress of it. So her parents nicknamed Ashley Pillow Angel. She's alert and responsive to her environment. She likes some specific types of music, but she got her nickname because she's pretty much usually laying on a pillow because that's all she can do. That's the limit of her function. So, hence the nickname Pillow Angel. And whether some people find it offensive, they don't find it a term. It's very sad. I agree, it's very sad. So what happened is, and let me see if I can. So So what happened is that preceded this case, this whole situation arising, is around 2004, when she was around 6.5, Ashley was showing signs of precocious puberty. So if you're unfamiliar with that, it basically means you start puberty stupid early. Again, she's 6.5. She's already starting signs of puberty. So I think if I remember, damn it, when did her puberty start? So, or I can't remember exactly what I think it's in the journal article. So let me see, go back to this puberty. Okay. She presented with an endocrine evaluation with a 1-year history of pubic hair development and 3-month history of breast budding. So at 6.5, she was already showing a history of pubic hair development and had 3 months previously to the initial evaluation, started having breast buds. So at 6.5, she's already showing signs of puberty. And it's actually, in my research for this discussion, it's actually not uncommon for children who have this severe brain disabilities like this to have precocious puberty. It's surprisingly more common than you would think, which shocked me to a bit of a degree. Is you have a lot of children who young will start going through puberty because of the way for example, she has an encephalopathy. So it's impacting the brain, it's impacting her hormones, it's impacting a lot of things. Oh, I'm Phoebe. She's alive. She's still alive. There's nothing that happened to her. I'm just referring to it in the past because we're still in the past, right? We're in 2003 right now. So let me get the damn thing I just had up. Where'd it go? Was this it? No, I don't remember. God, my brain is on suck level today. It's impossible to focus right now. The stupid technical issues did not help. So, all right. Where did back? So she started showing the signs of precocious puberty, and it's very common. So when you have a 6-year-old that's showing signs of puberty, that's a bit concerning for any parent, I would think. I'm sure any parent out there sees that. They're going to go, well, shit, what do I do? Because, I mean, what do you do? It's a complicated situation. I don't think you can really win that. So, one of the issues you often find with children or even now adults as they age with severe disabilities like this is the concern of the parents of who is going to take care of my child after I die. And it's really fucking morbid, right? And you have to think about this is, because you have this child now. There's no way she develops intellectually at all. She will stay for the rest of her days at the functioning level she's currently at. Right? And it's extremely fucking sad. And not only does she have that, she has scoliosis, she has some other issues too. But, the family, for what could be, because you see the photo that I've put up on the screen, right? You have this family. Actually, let me see if I can open this in another window. that doesn't. Damn it! I'm trying to show you some more pics of this kid here. So, because the family has done probably the most remarkable job at making this child be involved with the rest of the family. It's very easy to just dismiss the child, right? It's very easy to leave her out of everything. Let her just lay in bed. Because that's, I mean, all she could do. But they've gone above and beyond to make sure this kid is involved in everyone's lives. And to me, that speaks volumes to how much this family cares about this child. Hold on, I gotta log in to get to these pictures. Yes. God damn it. Ugh. Can I just do that? There we go. That's so much easier. Why didn't I just do that? God, I'm stupid sometimes. Don't clip that. Nobody clip that. Thank you. All right. So this is Ashley in 2007. I'm about to pull up for you guys. So let's stop that screen share and let's pull up another one. So let's do the window of Ashley in 2000. Okay, that's the right one. And none of that's okay. That's good. Here we go. Just trying to make sure I don't accidentally put the wrong shit on screen. All right, so here we go. So this is Ashley in 2007. Notice how, they got her involved. She's able. They take her places. The siblings spend time with her. They treat her like any other member of the family, and to me, that's so commendable. Look, they've got her fucking swimming. They took her swimming, and this kid's got a severe disability. This kid really can't process what's going on. They don't really get it. They have the functioning level of an infant. They have to eat through a tube. But regardless, this family loves their child. These siblings love their sister. And anyone who looks at this and doesn't see a family wanting nothing but the best care for her, I think, I don't know, I feel like they might be being a bit disingenuous in their reasoning. So you've got all of this. The family does activities together. They do things together. They're not some, it's not like they're leaving her in a home. It's not like they're leaving her to fend for herself somewhere. And to me, I love seeing that. Because when you run across patients, when you run across clients with these kind of issues, and as sad as it is, a lot of people will not be okay with it. They, again, and we're going to do a couple different things here. So what I'm going to do is go to this. So I wanted to show you that this child is not just some kid laying in a bed somewhere, that the parents are trying to get the easy way out, right? They're not trying to take the easy way out and just do shit the easy way and make it to where they don't have to work hard. Because I think, whether you support or not the efforts taken by these parents, and I've been very vague on what happened and what's going to happen for a reason, because this is truly, I think at the time, it was kind of new to the idea of using this type of treatment for this purpose. And we'll see why it's so controversial here in just a minute. So let's get back to the article I was reading. And also, one of the issues that caused me to be slightly delayed was I had found a second monitor of mine, or a second TV of mine laying around that was kind of an older one. And we had set it aside, and I was like, oh, I wonder what's wrong with this. And I was at the store the other day, and I found Walmart had USB-C to VGA adapters for $5 in their clearance section. So I bought one. I was like, well, hell yeah. I'll hook this up to one of those old TVs, and I'll have my three monitor setup again, where I have the laptop and then 2 monitors. And I got it working, but the TV will, if the cable gets something wrong with the TV, but it'll go from working fine to like doing this stuff all over the screen. And so it was frustrating as shit, because I'm like, God, this is great. And then it was taken away from me, and it was so sad. Probably one of the saddest things that could happen today. Obviously, I say that as a joke. So let's continue with this story. If I can find my article here. So let's see. So what happened is, and this is where I'm going to start digging into this journal article. I'll read you the case report section of this. And then what ended up happening is, and so I'll summarize it real quick, and then we'll dig into the nitty gritty, right? Is Ashley's parents took her to an endocrinologist. If you're not familiar, endocrinologists, they deal with like hormones, fertility and stuff too, on a certain scale. And that's where, for example, people who are doing gender transition would go see an endocrinologist, because they help you deal with hormones and all that fun stuff, right? So in 2004, the family takes Ashley to an endocrinologist. They have her evaluated, and they want to have the best possible treatment for her. What they end up doing is a process called growth attenuation therapy. And so let me pull this up real quick. And this whole incident, this one child, sparked national and I think international conversation about this whole fucking issue, because I don't think anyone ever saw this coming or would have expected this to happen the way it did. And I think it's something that needed to be explored, because whether or not it's ethical is its own thing, right? Whether or not you believe a child should be able to undergo this therapy and the reasons for undergoing it are very important, because one of the principles you think about when you think about medicine is what is best for the patient. One of the issues with this case is people thought this wasn't necessarily best for the patient. This was more for convenience for the parents, which is a very good argument, right? So one of the issues people have with the children growing older is when they have disabilities like this, where are they going to go? Who's going to treat them? How am I going to make sure my child's okay? And it's a very, very big fear a lot of parents who have disabled children have. And it would be scary to me. I mean, I'd be scared if my child, for example, was, I grow up and they get older and I don't know what happens to them. I don't understand. Like, I want to know that they're going to be okay. When you have a child who has normal cognitive functioning levels, appropriate for their age, and I don't say normal is to sound offensive, you know, but I meant like normal functioning levels for the age and the situation. Whereas, you know, Ashley here, she has functioning levels that are inconsistent with her age. So here's what we'll do. We'll move into the next section. And so how do I do this in a good way? Let's see. So, all right. So case report section at 33. Okay. I'm also trying to take timestamp notes for myself so I can do the whole little timestamp thing after my show. So I can add that so it'll do the automatic chapters for you guys to help you save time. So that's why I'm doing this. So we're moving on to the case report. So let's do banner and case report. All right, case report. So we're on the case report. This is from the article written by people who were part of the ethics board at the hospital where the procedure was done. And we'll watch a video here in a few of one of the people from that board who basically says everybody on the ethics board going in was like, there's no way. Like, this is not. God, it's unstable. Don't do this to me. I love you, Wi-Fi. I love you and I respect you. Please don't dip out on me now. No. Please, I'm still here. Can you still hear me? All right. Can y'all hear me? My Wi-Fi was dipping out on me for a minute. I was scared. I was really scared. With you. And all right, let's do this because I want to see if any, for those of you who've been around for more than the Sophie stuff, you know my fascination with using PP ink. So what we're going to do, just because I want to have fun with this, because this is kind of a depressing topic, is let's do a quick poll. Should Ken use PP ink to annotate during the presentation? All right, so let's do this because I want to have some fun. All right, so let's make it very simple. All right, let's do a quick poll. So I'm going to ask you guys, so ask the community, should Ken use PP ink to annotate during the presentation? So your options are do it, hell yeah, or no, you stop it right now, Ken. So I'll give you guys a minute to do that while I get set up. And let's see, let's see what the poll is, because whatever the answer is means I have to set up the next part differently. Because, oh goodness. I have way too much fun with you guys. This is great. And I don't know why, but it's always so much fun to do this stuff. And I'll never figure out why. I'm sure I know, but just it's still fun. Regardless of what anyone says. I have fun, you guys have fun. I don't care who comes in here to try and ruin my fun. Oh shit. God damn it, you can't. Did we decide that? Did we decide that highlighting was unethical? Phoebes, to my understanding, no. To my understanding, she's still with her dad. So that's all I can do. No, Adams, I'm not using yellow sharks. But I'll have you know that for Halloween, I'm going to do a Halloween stream somehow. my wife made me buy from Five Below a baby shark head thingy, like a head, like one of those big shark head things. And I think what I'm going to do is do a stream where I'm wearing that for the stream, and you guys will actually see me in the shark head for the stream. You won't see my face, but you'll see the shark head. And so we'll do a shark-themed Halloween stream, if I can make it work. If not, and yeah, Karen, you're probably right. So Adams, you're welcome. There you go. It's going to go horribly, but it'll be funny, I think. All right, so let's close the poll. We have 15 votes in and ending the poll. We have results of, should Ken use PP Ink to annotate during the presentation? Do it. Hell yeah. 86% of the vote. No, you stop it right now, Ken. 13%. So yes, we will use the PP Ink to annotate during this not slideshow, but during the reading of this. So let me get this set up properly. All right, so I think this is right. So share screen, entire screen, because I have to do it that way. Crap. I need to open this in a file. All right, so let's do it that way. Because the only way to make this thing show up is to actually share my entire screen, because it's an overlay of the screen and I can't just share a window or a tab in StreamYard. It's dumb. I know. I hate it. But we'll do it. You guys voted 80-something% of the vote. Yeah. You're welcome. You're so welcome. Why do I do this to myself? I don't know. It's obviously a bad idea, but we're doing it anyway. Which PDF was this? POA 60025. All right, so this is the original article written by the doctors who were part of the committee in this situation. All right, so let's share screen. Make sure I don't pull up anything I shouldn't. So what did end? Let me summarize real quick what happened. So growth attenuation therapy is a type of therapy where the child or person or persons or adult or whatever the age of the patient is, right? They undergo a very specific type of treatment where, for example, so you have Ashley in this case, who is 6.5, and she's already showing signs of puberty. She's already got pubic hair development. She's already got breast buds developing, thanks to precocious puberty, due to the impact on her brain from the level of issue that comes with the situation. So what you can do, and this was done in the efforts to, and so I'm going to skip some of this because we're going to go down to the case report section. So I'm going to have to probably zoom in on this so you guys can see it. All right, so here we go. Now let's bring PP Ink back. And let's get rid of the banner for case report. So is PP Ink up yet? PP Ink. There we go. So right click on the arrow. Draw this like that. So I have the right annotation area. Okay. So let's do 320% zoom here. All right. The patient is a 6-year-old, 7 months white female, initially referred to the pediatric endocrine services for early pubertal development. She has been the full-term product of an unremarkable pregnancy. So unremarkable in medical use means like there's no real issue. Like an unremarkable pregnancy would mean there's nothing wrong. There's no major issues. So it just No crayons today. I can't do crayons twisted. Sorry. Severage says, is this the fancy medical version for humans equivalent of making a bonsai tree? I hate you so much right now. Oh my god. That's not funny, Sev. God damn it, dude. I hate you so much. You can't do that. No one go home and clip their children. That's not how you do this. There's a process. There's a procedure. Don't do that. Don't do that. I promise you will get in trouble if you do that. That's not okay. Do not do that. Do not listen to Seb. All right. All right. So let's bring out the arrow. Yes, I love the arrow so much. All right. After the first, followed by an uncomplicated birth. So pregnancy and birth, both very well, no major issues. Great. After the first month of life, she began displaying symptoms of hypotonia, feeding difficulties, 𝐓𝐢𝐩𝐬 movements, and developmental delay. So all these issues started showing, which is a big issue, right? You have all these things, and this is only after the first month. So what's the stupid shortcut to clear it? Control-Shift-C. Okay. That's my bad. Okay. Extensive subsequent evaluation by specialists in neurology, medical genetics, and developmental pediatrics failed to uncover a specific cause. So this article was written in 2006. The treatment took place the year or two before that, basically. And then you have the fallout from that coming in pretty much after this article was written. It wasn't supposed to be this big. It wasn't supposed to blow up like it did, but it ended up doing it. It's kind of like how other things do that, right? So, all right, so static encephalopathy with marked global developmental deficits eventually was diagnosed. It's kind of what I mentioned earlier. In the ensuing years, her development never progressed beyond that of an infant. At the age of 6 years, she cannot sit up, ambulate, or use language. So ambulate means like move around on her own, right? She can't move, she can't pick things up, she can't grasp, she can't crawl, nothing. She can't even use language, right? And then this is 6 years old. She's 6 years old, remember that. She is gastrostomy tube dependent for nutrition, so feeding tube. That's what that is. However, she clearly responds to others, vocalizing and smiling in response to care and affection. So she makes noises. She can seem to understand those things. Again, that's about as far as she's developed functionally. All right, so, God damn it. Why did the arrow go away? There we go. No, wait, why is my arrow gone? Give me my arrow back. Bad pee-pee ink. What the hell? There we go. The combined opinion of the specialists involved in her care is that there is no significant future improvement in her cognitive or neurologic baseline. So all the specialists said, this is what you're getting. The chance of improvement is almost zero, or is effectively zero. So take that for what it is. So that is one of the things that was used in the decision-making process on whether or not these treatments were ethical. So, as I was mentioning for growth attenuation therapy, specific actions are taken to inhibit the growth of the child so that they do not get to go through a full puberty like you normally would, where you get bigger and you go through all of that. So one of the things they do is, for this patient, right, you do high-dose estrogen therapy for several years, and what it does is it causes the child to basically go through puberty stupid quick, cause the growth plates to fuse, and so that way takes their height and limits it to a certain height level. Another thing they do, for example, with a female patient, is they remove the breast buds. In this case, because the family has a history of large breasts, and they were concerned about the child being able to lay comfortably and being able to deal with that should she have large breasts. They removed her breast buds. They also removed her uterus to prevent any issues with menstruation, with dealing with that. There was also concerns about in the future, should she end up in the care of another person, that in the situation where she may be abused, that she can't get pregnant because her uterus is gone. So, because that would make a whole nother fucking complication on top of all this other stuff. So, obviously, a lot of things were done in this case, right? You have all that done. You also had an appendectomy done because while you're in the abdomen, you take it out anyway because a lot of people end up having it go wrong. And when you have a child who can't vocalize, who can't say, oh, my lower right quadrant hurts, because you can't find appendicitis as easily in a patient like this. So you take actions and steps like this to help with that. All right. All right. So since there's no improvement in our cognitive neurologic baseline, and then we have Control-Alt-G. Okay. Since birth, the patient has been cared for in the home by her parents, both of whom are college-educated professionals. She has 2 healthy siblings. Despite her severe disability, she clearly is an integral and much-loved member. Oh, I have a notification thingy. Did I just get a super chat? Something popped up. Hold on 1 second. Oh, what the hell now? Okay, so something happened. I gotta open up my little dashboard here. Oh, can't put on that window, because that would be bad. All right. Because it's not showing up in my thing. Oh. Okay, so we do have a super chat. Duquesne said this super chat is also a crayon. It's blue. Thank you, Duquesne, for the super chat. Also, if you're interested, you can super chat by going to the bottom of the chat window. You can do it that way. There's also let me pull this out over here. Oh, I guess you guys are probably seeing my stupid screen right now, aren't you? Yeah. Oops. Back to what we were doing. There we go. So thank you for that super chat, Duquesne. Sev, it's okay. Trust me. I make those issues. I have those issues happen all the time. Clearly, I'm not the biggest expert in all of this with the technology part. I try to be, but shit happens, right? So, all right. Can you guys see the document well? Is it like easy to read, or do I need to zoom in some more? I just want to make sure it's not like at a point where you guys can't read it. Oh shit. God damn it. Hold the fuck on. Something's wrong here. God damn it. Hold on. That's what happened. I was in the wrong thing. Okay. I need to keep this on top. Hold on. Stupid thing. I forgot to turn on a program that helps keep my Windows on top. So thank you, GK, and I appreciate the support. After the fallout of the last couple of weeks with people going after certain people related to me or close to me, I've got a somewhat decent go-ahead from my spouse to do this and see if I can make this make a good go at this, which should be fucking awesome. So I'm gonna do that. But like I said, I've been dealing with some family shit the last few days, and so hence the delay in getting the stream going. So I do apologize for that. So, okay, thank you, Antropolis. I appreciate that. That's the thing I was just wanting to make sure is because I know I can when I pull it up on the big screen, like when I maximize the stream, I can see the text. I don't know if you guys care or not to see the text, but if you do, I want to make sure you can see the text, right? So while I'm waiting for this stupid program to load, I'm going to continue reading this. You guys will be without the thing for a few months. So again, since birth, she's been cared by her parents despite the severe disability. She's an integral part of the family, basically. They love her. You guys saw the pictures. They love the fuck out of that kid. Even though the kid may not truly understand what the family's doing, the love the family's showing to her because of her functioning level, they do love her. They do care about her. And I think that's a huge thing. I think that's commendable to the nth fucking degree. And so in their effort to take care of their child, this is one of the things they tried to do. Ended up causing a massive backlash. Because, oh my God, my computer's being a bitch right now. I didn't spend all this money on you for fucking Christmas if you did not fucking work. What the hell? I'm so mad right now. Holy shit. What the fuck? Hold on, guys. Task manager. I need to call tech support. Someone help me. What is eating up so much memory? Or processor? I don't know. Something is. I can't figure it out. I swear if I have to restart the stream or restart the computer, I'm going to be so mad. Okay, it's Chrome. Why the fuck, Chrome? Are you doing this to me? Go back to Chrome. Let's kill you for the moment. Please bear with us while we deal with these technical difficulties. I don't even know if you guys could hear me at the moment because of how fucked off this is right now. This is extremely frustrating. All right. I'm trying to, Twisted. I can't. I had to pull up chat on my phone to see what you guys are doing because everything just locked up. I have to do the old Control-Delete. Fucking hell. I'm so mad right now. I guess I gotta kill something here. What the fuck is going on? I don't even have that many tabs open. I have 33 tabs open. That's not even that many. Twisted Puppet, get over here. Fix this shit. It's all your fault. Your tech support. Why aren't you tech supporting? What the fuck is going on? Oh my God, this is fucking incredible. How do I open Chrome Task Manager again, Twisted? Is it Shift Escape? I don't remember. How does it work? I need to get the Chrome Task Manager open because this isn't working. I need to kill stuff inside of Chrome, apparently, because I can't even get to the fucking main Task Manager to kill shit properly. God damn it. What did I do? Oh, I'm going to have to smother this with a pillow. I'm going to have to do that. What the hell? This is ridiculous. I need to speak to a manager. Oh my God, I'm the man. I just went full meta and full circle. Screw it. We're going to make this an ASMR stream and just call it a day. Because this is frustrating as shit. Oh my God, close the program. I feel like I'm dealing with Windows ME again. Okay. This is like, I'm getting PTSD from the Windows shit, like the person in my chat from another stream who got PTSD from me reading shit somehow. Like, we're at that level of fucking frustration right now. Holy shit. Okay, what is eating so much memory? Why are you not? I might just have to turn it off and turn it back on. I can't. Like, nothing's working. Okay. I gotta do it. I'm gonna have to kill it. Nothing is working. I'm so pissed off right. Oh, God. It's. Alright, I'm smothering it. I know it's shit. I don't like it. I normally like to use Brave, but because of how I have my streaming shit set up, I gotta do it. Alright, so I'm gonna kill it. I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, I think I'm back. Oh dear God, that was awful. I am so sorry, everyone. All right, let's try and pick up the pieces of what just happened. All right. So what I think we're gonna do next, just because now I'm frustrated, is let's, because I'm kind of giving you a summary of what happened. So let's actually watch a presentation by one of the authors of the original paper. So he did this presentation a few years ago, and I listened to it the other day while I was driving, and I thought it was well done. So let's go ahead and do that, and he can give you his view of it. So I'm going to skip the first few minutes where they introduce the guy. It basically gives his background, so it's kind of meh, whatever. So let's do that. I'll get the other stuff I want to go over relating to this ready, and we'll go over that at some point here as well. So let's bring this over here because I want to do it over here. And then zoom in. Nope. Let's open guest window. That. I think it was right around here. Okay, let's do this. So say, I love having a solid state drive. I'm not going to lie. So let's bring this video up. I'm going to share this with you. I thought it was fun. I thought it was interesting. He gets to explain as one of the people on the ethics board who wrote the paper, who addressed the controversy head on. And I think he dealt with it in probably the best way you could. Like, I don't think there's a better way to do it. It's too difficult. So that's great. We'll do it this way. So full screen. So bring you over here. I need to review some crap while this is working out. Actually, right. So let's get this going. So display settings. Fix the. No, later. I don't want any more updates. No more updates right now. Please, God, don't give me any more updates. No, let's go up here. Keep changes. All right, I think that's. Why is it doing this? It's so annoying. It won't. I can't get my other display to scale properly. It's really weird. This is frustrating. Screw it. We'll just do that. That's the best I can do for now. All right. So this is what we're going to do. Let me pull this up. So we're going to start going through this. If you have any questions, let me know. I will do my best to answer any questions, any concerns. I'll be happy to take on those things. I know it's a complicated subject, but I'm here to help with that too, because this is definitely a unique situation for that, like I said, spawned a huge debate. But nonetheless, there's an ethical issue going here that I think many people would tend to just easily dismiss or ignore or get upset with, because it's kind of, I could see why people would get mad at the parents. I see why people would get mad at other parts of it too. So let's do this. So let's get to here. Bring this down so I can freaking see everything. All right, so let's add this to the stream. And let's watch this presentation. Let me make sure. Oh, quality is at 480p. So, okay. So let's do this. This is Dr. Douglas 𝗬𝗬𝗬𝗬𝗬𝗬, who was part of the ethics committee and was part of the, I think, part of the treatment team. So I'll also turn on closed captions for those. So here we go. Let's watch this thing. Let me know if you need any volume adjustments.
Thanks. That was very kind. And good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be in Minneapolis, and I appreciate the weather y'all ordered up. I was a little nervous about coming last week, but now we're having nice Seattle-like weather. At least the weather's like this in Seattle right now. This is actually my backyard, metaphorically speaking, and my playground. And one of the things I have certainly learned living in the Northwest is that to really understand a place, you have to get into it. You can't just sort of look at pictures and understand it. You have to get into the landscape. Rearing up behind the big white mountain there is 𝗦𝘂𝗬𝗁, which is one of our 10,000 plus foot volcanoes. But to really get to know those mountains, you have to get into them. And the same thing applies to ethical issues, that, to really think carefully about them, you have to understand them. And that means getting into the details.
Louder. Let me see if I can do that.
The facts and get your boots on the ground. Ashley's case, which I'm going to talk about today, is certainly an example of that. There was an awful lot written about her case. A significant number of the papers and articles that were written about Ashley were not accurate. In many cases, the arguments that people put forward to either support or disagree with what we had done were based on flawed facts. And it's important to recognize that to really do a good job with the ethics of any topic, you have to understand actually what was going on. So part of what I'm going to do today is take us through some of that. So I am going to sort of revisit the Ashley case and walk you through the Ashley case as sort of we walked through it in Seattle. And along the way talk about the ethics of growth attenuation in particular, and to a certain degree I'll also address the question of hysterectomy with Ashley. So I have no financial relationships to disclose here, and I do not plan to discuss anything other than high-dose estrogen, which is technically a off-label use of the drug. So let me tell you a little bit about Ashley. When we first encountered Ashley, she was a 6.5-year-old girl. She had actually been in the children's system for many years. She'd been followed by our developmental specialist, by our endocrinologist. She had a general pediatrician in town. And at 6.5, her primary diagnosis was profound developmental disability. A static encephalopathy was the sort of clinical term, which is sort of a way of saying we don't really understand why her brain is the way it is, but it is, and it doesn't look like it's going to change. She was, in the estimation of the developmental specialists, operating at about the level of a 3-month-old. Based on their best knowledge and review of Ashley, they estimated that she would remain at that point. To give you some idea of what she was like functionally, she really was very limited in terms of her motor ability. She could not roll over on her own. She couldn't sit up on her own, couldn't feed herself or do really any caretaking activities by herself, and really was dependent on her parents for everything, including just rolling her over to keep her from getting decubitus ulcers. So she was a very dependent little girl. She did spend much of her day in a wheelchair. She needed to be strapped into that chair in order to remain upright. She was attending school and was in a classroom, sometimes on a bed and sometimes in her wheelchair. And what had brought them to sort of the attention of the endocrinologist was that at 6.5, she had started to develop pubic hair and some breast budding. So it looked like she was entering puberty several years early. But the parents were actually not interested in arresting that puberty. Their question really was that based on her height at the time, which was about the 75th percentile, and the height of both of her parents, her likely ultimate height, and along with it the weight that goes with that, were likely to be above average. And they were interested in limiting that for a number of reasons, which they shared with our committee. And almost all of those reasons had to do with trying to optimize their care for Ashley. The parents were very, very committed to making sure that her life was just like the life of all their other children, that she remained in their home, that she could experience the same sorts of things the rest of the family was experiencing, and that meant going on trips and going to the park and those sorts of things. And they were not naive. They were realistic parents who recognized that as she got bigger and this got more difficult, that no matter how committed they were, this would change. That at a certain point you just stop going to the park, and at a certain point you don't do airplane trips and then car trips and so on, because there's just, it's too difficult to do the transfers and so on. And so, and they didn't want that. They wanted to be able to continue to be able to transfer her and have her participate in activities. And Dad felt, you know, he said, I can currently lift her, and I would like that to remain the case. Obviously, if she becomes adult size as I get older, that's not going to happen anymore. And then we will be reliant on mechanical lifts and so on. So we'd like to see if there's some way we can limit that. And at the same time, they were also interested in dealing with issues of menstruation, the possibility of pregnancy, and other issues which I'll talk about, as well as a request to remove her breast buds so that she would not develop fully mature breasts. So their primary question was whether there was a way to limit growth for their child. Now, this was not sort of a, you know, pull it out of a hat sort of idea. The reality is that there is a history of doing this to young women, and that history dates back to the 50s and 60s and 70s, when, in fact, growth attenuation was done in many cases by general pediatricians and family medicine docs to otherwise healthy young women whose parents would bring them into the doctor's office. And there's a very important historical context here, because they were the tallest girl in the class, and the parents were concerned about what a disaster this was for their daughter's marital prospects.
Pause real quick and discuss that. So that's one of the issues that has come up with regards to this issue, this topic, is that because you did have a lot of people in the past misuse and abuse this type of treatment modality in stunting the growth of a child, in, you know, because they were worried about her height or worried about this or worried about that, that the ethical issue came up is, well, this isn't, you know, one of the issues we'll talk about later in the concept of all of this is her getting, sorry about that. It's her getting these treatments, and in the future, or someone getting these treatments, and in the future, a treatment comes up that would allow her to grow up like a normal adult and have the functioning of a normal or average adult. And now you've taken away what it means for her to be an adult, what it means for her to be able to have a family, what it means for her to be able to you know, do all these other things by having these procedures done at such a young age, by stunting her growth, by removing her uterus, by doing all this. And it really is a good point to some degree. But one of the issues they took into consideration was that is, and he'll mention it later, is she likely to recover or get any level of functioning improvement from this? So, you know, is she, will she? It's a good question, and it was brought up, and it should have been brought up, and it is, you know, I feel like the ethics committee at the time, given their level of understanding and all that, I mean, I think they did the best job they were going to. And that's not to say that they failed or they did anything specifically wrong. I just don't think you can really come out of this without someone criticizing you. No matter, I mean, look at the stupidity that just happened in the chat, if anyone paid attention, right? If anyone's paying attention to that crap. And I removed it because I'm just done with it. I'm done with people fucking with my channel. I'm done with people coming in here making stupid ass accusations. I can talk about something without it being fucking deemed as sexual or deemed as inappropriate. So fuck off to all you people who have that fucking perspective. Jesus fucking Christ, it's ridiculous. And I'm tired of this shit. So fuck all of you. Stay the fuck away. Leave me the fuck alone. I've left you the fuck alone. So be done with it. Don't fucking come back to my shit ever again. You're the one who has the sexual obsession, not me. You're the one who can't stop fucking mentioning it. So fuck off, bitch. Be done with it. I promise you don't want to poke the fucking bear anymore. Be done. Walk the fuck away. Leave me the fuck alone. I've left you the fuck alone and I'm moving the fuck on. Go away. Be done. Fuck off. Oh, I know, Pix. I know they're projecting hard. They're projecting hardcore because they're the ones with the problem, not me. I don't have a fucking problem. I don't have a fucking problem. The only problem I have is wanting to care for people and wanting to talk about shit that I feel is important for people to know. This is a case that is important for people to know about because it should matter and it's a big deal. Because if you end up in a situation like this, this is something you may have to consider. And the ethics of it are very important because no one knows if they're going to end up in a situation where they have a disabled child. So, oh, I know, Twisted. I know they want that. I'm breathing. So let's get back on topic because fuck that bitch. She's been muted, I think. Did I mute her ass? Or did I mute her ass? Put user in timeout. You're fucking gone. I'm done. Timeout. Hide user on this channel. You're done. I don't want to see your ass anymore. Go away. Fuck all of you. You're done. That's it. All right. Back on topic. So let's resume. Again, he's going to continue to describe some more about this. I'm going to mute for a bit, let him do his shit, and I'll jump in every few minutes to give my transformative nature of the work because of YouTube rules and stuff, right? So here we go. Let's pick this back up.
Things have obviously changed a little bit. The stigma attached to being a tall girl is not nearly what it was in the 50s and 60s. Obviously, being a tall girl now gives you some major advantages in terms of athletics, as well as whether you ever are going to become a CEO or a college president. But height was different in the 50s and 60s. And so the reality is that thousands of young women were treated with growth attenuation. One of the interesting things I learned through this process was that one of the women sitting on our ethics committee, who's probably the tallest member of the ethics committee, had actually undergone growth attenuation therapy as a teenager because her parents had this concern. So we actually had somebody on our committee who had experience with high-dose estrogen therapy.
So if you were listening to that, one of the members of the actual ethics committee was a child who was kind of forced to undergo growth attenuation therapy to limit her height as a child. So you have someone who was actually one of the people who the process may have been abused against her, and she's sitting on the board to make this major decision in the life of this child. So you really get a good idea of who was on this ethics board. So that's I think a good place to see that they were trying to give this the best level of ethical consideration possible. So let's continue.
As a teenager, for different reasons than Ashley, but nonetheless, she had gone through this. So, first of all, we knew this therapy was available. So you talk to an endocrinologist and they say, yes, you know, this used to be fairly common. And the reality is there are still endocrinologists that get this request from parents, and there are still endocrinologists that will do it for some young women who feel that they're going to be taller than they want to be. But there's also a medical literature on this. Now, it's not, like much of our medical literature, the greatest scientific, sort of methodology, but nonetheless, we have large case series that amount to, over 1,000 cases being described of young adolescent women who underwent high-dose estrogen therapy. And so what we do know, at least from that literature, is that the side effect rate is very low, particularly the serious adverse event rate. Some of these women get
let me see if I can up it. Here, I'll mute myself just to make sure.
Develop other fairly minor symptoms, and I think out of the 1,000+ cases that were described in the literature, there was probably only one instance of a deep venous thrombosis that ended up self-resolving without any serious sequelae. So it proved to be a relatively safe treatment. Now, this can be delivered in a number of ways, but one of the ways we now have available is a transdermal skin patch. And in Ashley's case, the endocrinologist had projected that her adult height would be 5'4". The reality is her genetic potential was considerably higher than that. She had a very tall mom and a very tall dad, and I don't know their exact heights, but I'm just guessing that probably her genetic potential was more like 5'9" or 5'10". But for a number of reasons, including the fact that many developmentally delayed kids don't often achieve their genetic potential, and the fact that she was already in precocious puberty, and that in itself would shorten her eventual height. His estimation was 5'4". And he felt he could get her to 4'6" with high-dose estrogen therapy starting at 6.5 years of age. The other thing they talked about was that the primary side effect of high-dose estrogen therapy is heavy menstrual bleeding. And so the parents had brought this interest in a hysterectomy forward, and one of the questions people commonly ask is, well, why at 6.5? Can't you wait to do that? And the answer to that is, yes, you can. The parents' answer to that is, we know you can, but we also know this is how we want to handle the issues related to having a uterus in our daughter. And if we're going to do a hysterectomy, we would far prefer to do it before she gets high-dose estrogen therapy, so that we can knock off the primary side effect of high-dose estrogen therapy. And their argument actually makes good sense. If you're going to do a hysterectomy anyway, at some point, the time to do it is before you give somebody high doses of estrogen. Now, there is a risk of deep venous thrombosis with high-dose estrogen. I don't think we really know whether it's greater than birth control pills, and if so, how much greater. Obviously, it's going to be a little greater than in somebody who's non-ambulatory than in somebody who is, so there is some risk of that with Ashley. But otherwise, the risks are pretty small. Now, the parents also had these two other requests, and their request for a hysterectomy was not radically different than the reasons many parents of kids with severe developmental disabilities give when they bring this request forward, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. The breast bud removal was a very unusual request. It's one I had never heard before. It's one most of the people on our committee had never heard or even thought about before. The parents had, again, a very sort of patient and family-centric reason for this. The history on the mom's side was of having sort of a not entirely positive relationship with their breasts. Let's just put it that way. Most of the women in the family had large breasts. They experienced pain, particularly during their menstrual periods. Many of them had fibrocystic disease, which meant an increase in the number of mammograms and so on and so on. And the mom voiced that she wasn't sure why Ashley should have to go through all of that when there were really two primary reasons for having fully developed breasts. One is to nurse a baby, and the other is for sexual pleasure and so on. And she said, my daughter's not going to be in the position to really meaningfully participate in a sexual relationship or breastfeed a baby. And so why should she have to sort of experience the sorts of discomfort that many of my relatives have from having large breasts? So that's where that request came from. That wasn't just sort of a, we don't want her to look like an adult. That really wasn't part of the equation, even though that's the way many people have sort of framed that part of the issue. So let me just talk briefly about the hysterectomy issue. What the data shows us is that about half of parents with kids like Ashley actually think about a hysterectomy. Now, most of them end up not doing it. They end up controlling menstruation and menstrual pain and so on through other means, sometimes not entirely successfully. But at least 50% of them think about this as one possible solution. So this is not something that is bizarre. I mean, this is something that many of these parents wrestle with and think about and ask their doctors about. And it's almost always coupled with having a child who, in the estimation of the parents, will never be capable of marrying or meaningfully parenting. And you know, sort of the way I frame this for people is that you're talking about a group of kids here that if your prognosis is correct, the only way they would ever get pregnant is through an abusive, manipulative relationship, not through a consensual experience with somebody they had picked. And parents have lots of concerns, and Ashley's parents expressed all of these. There's a fear of pregnancy. We know that the rate of abuse by caretakers among these kids is much higher than it should be. And it can be very difficult to control. It's almost impossible not to leave these kids at some point with a caregiver so that parents can get respite. And if they're put in a facility, obviously the rate goes up even higher. And that obviously has significant impacts on a child who can't understand the experience of pregnancy, who now either has to undergo an abortion or go through childbirth without really understanding what's going on. And it creates obligations for the parents of that person who now have a baby that they have to do something with. These parents have concerns about the efficacy of other forms of birth control. Some of them have difficulty getting their children to take medications, and they worry about that, among other things. Control of menstrual flow, behavioral symptoms of distress related to menstruation, both of these were felt to be likely in Ashley's case. She had demonstrated sort of dysphoric reactions to seeing her blood and to having blood drawn and other things, and the parents were concerned about her reaction once menstrual periods would start. The family also had a history of menstrual pain, many of the women in the family, and so again, you know, one of Ashley's mom's points was, why should my daughter have to suffer through menstrual cramps if we have a way of preventing that, and if there's no sort of really benefit to her keeping her uterus. And you know, the other thing she pointed out was, you know, she can't communicate with us very effectively, so we know when she's in distress, but we have no idea why much of the time. And so we won't even know necessarily that her distress is coming from menstrual cramps, and it makes it difficult to treat it in that particular situation. So why not eliminate that variable was sort of the argument. There are issues of menstrual hygiene, and I mentioned the fear of sexual abuse. And these parents are not naive, and Ashley's parents certainly weren't. They're not naive enough to think that if you take the uterus out, you'll prevent sexual abuse. That's not what's being accomplished here. And I will also tell you that in their minds, that was not the reason for breast bud removal. They knew doggone well that just removing her breast buds and wouldn't keep her from getting taken advantage of at some point. The parents of boys have these same concerns, by the way. So a lot of people said, well, you know, Ashley, her situation only applies to girls. But we get these requests from parents of boys as well. And it's often boys who have severe developmental disabilities and are maybe hypersexualized in their behavior. And their parents are really worried that they can't fully control that boy's behavior all the time, and they don't want that boy impregnating somebody, and can we do something about that? So again, these are not uncommon requests of parents of some of these kids. So this is where the ethics consultant comes in. I was the lucky guy. The first call came from Ashley's general pediatrician, who said, we need to get an ethics consult, and I just want to warn you, You're going to hear what I have to say, and you're going to think this is absolutely bizarre. And she said, that was my first response. I said, there's no way we'll consider any of these things. And she said, the reality is that I've come around, and I actually think Ashley's parents are making a request that's reasonable. So the general pediatrician had actually already gone through a process starting from no way to coming to see their side of things, and sort of gave me that warning as a prelude. And this was a case that, after being presented to me, it was very clear should not be handled by a single person. So I recommended that we do this as a full committee so that we could take advantage of all of the multiple disciplinary and background sorts of expertise that our committee members have, everybody from pastoral care to administration to nursing to developmental specialists, and get all those people in a room to talk about this, men and women, people who had undergone growth attenuation and people who hadn't, a fairly good variety of people. And the question for us really was primarily, is it ethically appropriate to proceed with the parents' 3 requests? So the full committee was convened. The parents and Ashley came to the first part of the meeting, and I think it was important for Ashley to be there. We needed to see her. We needed to, it allowed us to sort of balance what the parents were saying about her with actually seeing her in the room and seeing that they weren't making any of this up, that what they were describing about their daughter actually was what we were seeing.
So pausing that for a moment. So as I said, they took this very seriously. He took the steps to, it wasn't just, let's just get one person to review this and, oh, it'll be okay. That's all we need to make sure it's ethical. No. They convened an entire ethics committee, like a full board ethical review for this case. And as you can see by his PowerPoint, they highlight it, and I can't show it. I can't use my cursor to highlight anything, but they brought the child. They showed that the child didn't have the functioning level beyond an infant, that they weren't lying, that it wasn't like Munchausen's or Munchausen's by proxy or whatever, that kind of shit. They took the extra steps to make sure. They wanted to make sure that this was done properly. I believe this is in 2004 when the ethics committee was convened, because she did treatments. The paper came out in 2006. I remember the first endocrinologist appointment was in 2004. So it was between 2004 and 2005ish, I think, when they went down this road to do this treatment. So let's continue and see what else Dr. 𝗬𝗲𝗿𝗄𝗻 has to say, or 𝗬𝗲𝗿𝗄𝗻 or whatever. I suck at pronouncing names, so here let's continue.
It also, obviously makes Ashley a real person. This sort of moves from a theoretical case to it's about this little girl sitting in the room here, and that can be important. Ashley's dad presented their reasons for wanting all 3 of these procedures, and then we asked them to leave, and the committee deliberated for a couple of hours following that, and did the ethics thing, right? So the first step for us was to identify the question, and there was really one primary question, and that was whether this was in Ashley's best interest. And I will say that sort of this was framed by the committee in that way, that this is about Ashley's best interest. We recognize that some of this stuff may make the parent's job a little easier, but that is not a consideration we will give any weight to. The only thing that will carry weight with us is whether this benefits Ashley in an important way and whether that benefit justifies the potential burdens and what she may have to lose here. The other thing we did, and this was on my recommendation, because my experience has been that cases like this are very difficult for people to get a handle on because they're very complicated. And running a discussion about something like the Ashley case gets out of control very quickly, because the first comment is about growth attenuation, and then somebody wants to talk about breast bud removal, and then you're on to hysterectomy, and then you're back to growth attenuation, and it's all over the map. So the way we structured this discussion was, from the beginning, we recognized that these 3 procedures did not need to go together. In other words, we are not the ones that invented the Ashley treatment. And I quite frankly don't like people referring to this as the Ashley treatment. These were 3 separate procedures that were done because somebody felt that they were in the best interest of the child. And the reality is they don't have to go together. Now, they are interconnected, right? I mean, the biggest side effect of growth attenuation treatment, high-dose estrogen, is heavy menstrual bleeding. And you can eliminate that by doing a hysterectomy beforehand. The other thing is that if you're going to do some kind of a procedure on Ashley's breasts, the best time to do it is when she has breast buds, not fully developed breasts. It's a much easier procedure surgically. There's much less morbidity than if you're doing a full mastectomy. And the reality is that as soon as you give her high-dose estrogen, she's going to develop mature female breasts. And so again, that's a procedure you want to do before, if you're going to do it at all. And then, and the parents had thought all this through. These were very sort of smart parents. They didn't want Ashley to undergo more than 1 surgical procedure. So they wanted the hysterectomy and the breast buds done with the same anesthesia to limit the number of times she'd be exposed to anesthesia. So there are all these timing issues, and there are these interrelationships. You can reduce the risk of surgery for one procedure by doing it at the same time you do the other, and so on. But the committee still felt like, you know, we can say yes to growth attenuation therapy and no to the other 2 things. We could say yes to growth attenuation therapy, the hysterectomy, and not the breast bud removal. So let's talk about them all independently and see where we come out. So we started with growth attenuation. We moved on to hysterectomy, and we ended with the breast bud removal. And I will tell you that the easiest discussion surrounded hysterectomy, not because it's an easy issue, but because there's a literature on that topic. So we had something to draw on. The other 2 were completely novel from an ethics perspective. Nobody had ever discussed these in the ethics literature. And so we had to sort of do our own analysis using, you know, sort of principles and rights and so on. Now, there were 2 subsidiary questions, you know, about who gets to make the final decision and whether there are limits to the kind of decision that we would tolerate. But ultimately, even the answer to those questions comes down to what's in Ashley's best interest. Now, one thing I will say is that if you're going to approach this from sort of a principles perspective, this is not where you're at. This is not a case where you're talking about the right of autonomy and the right of beneficence. There is no autonomy here. We're talking about parents making a request. Autonomy is about self-rule. It's when you make the request for yourself. And we respect autonomy because you're telling us what you want. What the developmental specialists are telling us is that Ashley will never have any kind of decision-making autonomy. And so there really is no discussion of autonomy here. The only discussion is, and this was part of the committee meeting, and this was the question posed to the developmental experts, will she ever, at any point in her life, potentially achieve the ability to make decisions like this for herself? Because if the answer to that question is yes, then we don't say yes to any of this stuff. But the answer we got from the medical experts was no, this is not going to change significantly. She will never sort of achieve that level of decision-making capacity or anywhere near it. So, you know, from a principle perspective, you're really talking about the principle of beneficence. What's the good thing for Ashley? What benefits her? What prevents harms to her? And what promotes her good, ultimately? And medicine is a form of this. We all know that. That's part of the reason we take this seriously. But so is parenting. And I will say that despite the fact that Ashley's parents were often colored in sort of negative ways by the media and the blogs and so on, that they were very caring individuals. And in the words of my colleague Norm Faust, he said it's unbelievable the way people are villainizing these parents, because he said Ashley is the kind of baby that there are many parents who would decide not to resuscitate her at birth, and nobody would blink an eye about that. And yet not only did they do that, but they're fully committed to her, and they want these things because they think it's going to make her life better, and people are villainizing them for that. And he actually has a point about that. That's an important one to think about. Now, the problem with beneficence sort of based analyses is they are value dependent. I mean, people are going to disagree. And that was very clear in this case after the fact. people are going to disagree about how burdens and benefits stack up. Anytime you're talking about a situation where there are some benefits to a patient and some burdens, people will disagree about how those things should be weighed against each
So
other.
let me
And
pause
that is
real
just the
quick so I can
reality
answer a couple of
of,
questions. So the breast buds were removed and as he mentions, I think the family, there's a history for females in the family to develop extremely large breasts or oversized breasts for their, and with the procedures, even though, as he said, they can be considered separate, they do kind of link together in a way. And again, she started puberty. She had precocious puberty, so she started puberty at 6.5. She was displaying with signs of puberty already. I think she was moving into like Tanner stage 2 or something. And this was a way to help her so she wouldn't be uncomfortable as, being left, because she lays on a pillow basically all day. And so the uncomfortableness that comes with that, having to deal with that, should she grow large breasts and all the things that go with it. So by not having the breasts, you have, by taking them out at the same time, you make it easier on the child and the future adult and the caregivers in the process. There's a lot less of an issue you would have, especially doing it while you're still at breast bud stage versus fully developed breasts. So there's where that is. So, and this helps the child live an easier life. And as he said, people who would have seen, like if this child was born and they saw it, they didn't necessarily have to revive the child. They didn't have to, they could have let the child die on the table, kind of, right? Or effectively aborted it. Like, it's shitty. Like, there's no winning in this situation. And these parents took on that burden, and in their effort to help take care of their child, they end up getting they get shit on kind of hard, and we'll see that later. And I think it's, like I said, I think this is an interesting topic for discussion because it has a way to impact us all in a way. Should you end up in a situation with a child like this, you have to make difficult decisions. You have to think about, am I doing this for myself? Am I doing it for the child? Why am I making these decisions? There's so many pieces involved in it. So I think that's why this makes it a good topic. So let's continue. I'm going to mute myself again. If you have any questions, I'm paying attention to the chat. Feel free. I'll jump in.
Sort of what we do in ethics, and particularly when you're talking about the principle of beneficence. So in sum, what we did as a committee was we considered each of these requests separately. We focused on the benefits and the risks to Ashley. We felt that if it was reasonable to agree that the benefits justified the risks, then Ashley's parents should be able to make this sort of a decision as long as there was a physician who would provide the services. And everybody on that committee recognized that these three issues raised some major concerns, ethical concerns. Those were discussed in depth, and ultimately the committee felt that Ashley would actually probably benefit from all three of these in a way that justified the potential harms that would arise. But it was not without a very thorough discussion of a lot of very important issues. And I will also say that I'm not aware of a single person on that committee that did not come into this discussion as a skeptic. In other words, it's fair to say that the strong bias of the committee when people walked into the room was to say no to all three of these, or at least two of them. Maybe the hysterectomy was something people would consider, but the other two, they weren't so sure. And when we left the room, there wasn't anybody, everybody still had some qualms about it, but there wasn't anybody who was willing to say, I really don't think the parents should be allowed to proceed. So a couple words about the discussion on hysterectomy. Birth control and control of menstruation can clearly benefit a patient. And many adult women know this because they seek it for themselves. And so it's undeniable that that can have some value. Retaining the ability to bear a child may not always be a benefit if you're the kind of person who will never experience a benefit from bearing a child, have that capability to do so. And it seems to me that the burden of proof still has to lie with those who seek to involuntarily sterilize another individual. In other words, there needs to be a high level of proof with this sort of thing, because what you're taking away is something that, at least historically, we know if you do it in the wrong person, it can be regrettable. And that was certainly the case, 50 years ago in the United States, when we were sterilizing individuals who were not significantly developmentally delayed and who did actually retain the capacity to parent and to marry, who lost that ability because somebody somewhere had decided they should be sterilized. We all agree that individuals who have decision-making capacity or will achieve that should be able to choose a sterilizing procedures. And for the most part, well, almost entirely, they should not have one involuntarily done on them. Those who do not have the capacity, generally, we should protect their future choice and interests if there's any chance they will gain that capacity in the future. They should have the same range of options available to them as those with capacity. And I would argue that includes the option of having a hysterectomy done if it's deemed to be in their best interest, in part because there are very few benefits to them from having a uterus. What are the relevant areas of capacity to sort of the question of sterilization? And I think there are three of them. I think the ability to understand the therapy or procedure under consideration, its risks, benefits, and alternatives are one of those. The capacity to bear responsibility for the consequences of those decisions is another one. And the capacity to raise a child safely or be in a relationship with somebody who can is another one. My feeling is that if you're dealing with somebody who at some point in their life may be able to marry somebody else willingly and have that person assist in raising a child, that's a person who should not be sterilized, even if they have even if they have some degree of developmental disability. I, for example, don't think kids with trisomy 21 should have hysterectomies done, or that level of disability. I mean, some of those kids actually do end up in relationships, and sometimes with people who are capable of raising a child with them. So there's a fairly high level of sort of what we require for hysterectomy, and in my mind, I think it requires profound and permanent developmental disability, an agreement of that from multiple specialists. The procedure should be relatively urgently necessary. There should be clear and convincing evidence that the procedure is in the best interest of the individual, and the same benefits can't be obtained from less intrusive or reversible methods. Now, all of these things, this was sort of the method we followed in the committee with regard to the hysterectomy, and the feeling was that the hysterectomy was appropriate. In other words, that it passed all of these sorts of tests. There are clearly alternatives. And there are lots of them. But one of the things you need to remember is that every one of these alternatives comes associated with its own set of potential harms and side effects. And in the case of the easiest one here, which is some kind of hormonal treatment, say oral contraceptives, you're talking about a young girl, Ashley here, who would need to be on these for as long as 40 years in order to prevent pregnancy. She's non-ambulatory, which greatly increases her risk of developing the significant side effect of oral contraceptives, which is deep venous thrombosis and even pulmonary embolus. That is not an insubstantial risk. And that risk, it may actually be greater than the one-time risk of having a hysterectomy done. And so that this is not as simple as saying, why would you do a surgical procedure when there are alternatives? You really do have to sort of consider that every one of these alternatives has its own set of risks associated with it as well. And some of those risks, the other piece of this is that when you're dealing with a young girl like Ashley, many of these things are much more problematic than they would be in a child with normal cognition for a number of reasons. If you pick an IUD, for example, or endometrial ablation, you may be able to place an IUD in a 17-year-old with normal cognition without anesthesia. You will not be able to do that with Ashley without anesthesia. And it's not a one-time thing. The IUD needs to be replaced periodically, every time she needs anesthesia to do that. Likewise, she will need anesthesia for pelvic exams and cervical exams if she has a uterus to make sure that she's getting cervical cancer screening. She will probably, very possibly, need anesthesia to have mammograms done. All of those things will be associated with increased risks if you don't sort of do the sorts of things the parents want. So this is all to say, basically, that the very simplistic answer that many people had to this case, which was why do something when you can do nothing, is not an option, because you never do nothing. If you don't do what the parents are requesting, you have to follow these other routes, and these other routes are not without their own sets of potential harms and problems. Just a word about males. These same requests sort of apply to males. I think it's harder to justify sterilization in males, in part because they can't get pregnant, and so that potential harm to a severely, profoundly developmentally delayed male is different than it is for a female. But parents do worry about their potential to impregnate others, and I think it requires a very high level of proof to do that. But I certainly understand why those parents are requesting it when they do, and we have certainly had requests from parents for that. The bottom line about Ashley's case is I really think this was about making one little girl's life and one family's experience a little bit better, and not about setting a precedent or creating a policy. And our committee was very clear about that. The last part of our note of that committee meeting said, this does not create a precedent within this institution. In other words, what we recognized was there were some very, very specific factors that applied to Ashley that probably would not apply, at least with regard to the breast bud removal, to the vast majority of other kids. And we didn't want, say, our endocrinology department or our gynecologist to suddenly think that, you know, we were approving this for anybody who requested it. And so we were very clear about the fact that we felt these cases or similar requests should probably come back to the ethics committee to really help people think through these processes. And I don't have the kind of ethics committee that's looking for business, so that wasn't sort of a self-serving thing. We also felt that in cases where reasonable people disagree about what's in a child's best interest, the parents probably ought to be allowed to make that decision. Now, as I mentioned before, there was no significant disagreement on our particular committee, which probably included about 15 to 20 people in this particular case. But nonetheless, that was voiced, that, you know, even if some people sort of feel that it would be reasonable to disagree, then the parents still should be able to decide. So we recommended allowing the parents to proceed. We did recommend that the parents get a court order for the hysterectomy. Washington State has a lack of clarity in their law surrounding hysterectomies. There is no legislated law. There is a case that people rely on, and the details of that case did not relate to Ashley very closely. And so most of the thoughtful legal scholars I've talked to who have looked at Washington State law have either said, we don't think the case law applies to Ashley, or they've said it's unclear enough that it should be adjudicated. But because of that lack of clarity, and we had one of our hospital counsel in the room at that committee meeting, we did recommend that the family get a court order to deal with that issue. And as a general rule for any request for a hysterectomy of a minor, and all of those requests come from parents of profoundly developmentally delayed kids, we require a court order. And then we also suggested that the hospital develop a process for independent review of any future requests like this. So the committee was very, very careful in sort of the way they worded their final report. So the final outcome was that Ashley did indeed undergo a surgical procedure where her uterus was removed and her breast buds removed. Her ovaries were preserved so that she would retain normal hormonal production. High-dose estrogen treatment she underwent that for 2 years. It resulted in probably a 2 to 6 inch reduction in her ultimate height. Dr. Gunther's original projections were probably not accurate. He actually thought it would potentially be closer to 14 inches. In reality, it was probably more like 2 to 6. And then after some time, Dan Gunther, who was the endocrinologist, approached me about writing this up for publication. He really felt Ashley's and her family had benefited from this and wanted to put something in the literature that sort of put this on the radar screen of other endocrinologists. My interest was just that this was a really interesting ethical issue. And so I ended up sort of authoring the ethics part of the paper. He wrote the medical part of the paper, and it was published in Archives of Pediatric and Adolescent Medicine with a very boring title that we thought nobody would notice. And we thought it would be the typical medical journal that gets read by 3 people, all of whom are related to the authors. And it really wasn't, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But in our paper, what we recommended were a set of criterion that were pretty conservative. I mean, what we basically said was this shouldn't even be considered. And the other thing I'll say is our paper dealt with just the growth attenuation issue. We felt that the literature had addressed the hysterectomy issue adequately. We had nothing to add to that. And our feeling was the breast bud issue was unique enough to Ashley that it wasn't the sort of thing that we were ready to write a paper and say this ought to be done on all kinds of girls. And so we focused exclusively on the growth attenuation issue because we thought that was the piece of what had occurred that might have some generalizability and some importance. But the criterion we set up was that these have to be kids who have very, very profound developmental delay. The prognosis has to be near certain, and it has to be permanent. I mean, there can't be any sort of hope that they will not, that they will ever achieve capacity to make these sorts of decisions. We felt they should be non-ambulatory. Now, I'm not sure Dan agreed with me, but I insisted this go in there. And the argument for non-ambulatory is this. Height has value to people who are walking around, having jobs, and doing that sort of thing. I mean, if you look at the sociologic importance of height, it is true you're likely to make a little bit more money. You're more likely to be the president of the college as opposed to an assistant professor. When you walk into a room and people can see you're tall.
Squelch it, I do have that paper. I was reading from it earlier.
If I introduce myself the way I was introduced today, you all think I'm 5'10", whereas in reality I'm not. And it's because I was introduced, as a full professor and all these other things. And if you ask students in a classroom how tall they think the instructor is, or the lecturer is, or the assistant professor, associate professor, or professor, you get a linear gradient in the height estimates based on how they're introduced stature-wise. So height does carry status. Now, our feeling was if you're dealing with somebody who's profoundly developmentally delayed, you're not talking about benefits in terms of being the president of the US or having a job. And if you're non-ambulatory, then for the most part, people can't even tell how tall you are. And so even a developmentally delayed child who maybe has very limited capacities in other realms, if they're capable of walking around and interacting with other people, there's probably some value in being close to height, the same height as those other people. And so we felt that, or at least I felt that should be an exclusionary criterion. We felt there should be agreement on multiple evaluations by different providers. Obviously, there needs to be a willing provider, an endocrinologist/surgeon to do these things. And we also recommended that they come for ethics committee review. Again, just to make sure that all the issues have been thought about by a broad range of people. And then the last thing we recommended is the one that has not come to pass, and I'll talk about why. And that is we felt really strongly that if this was the sort of thing that would be done to other kids beyond Ashley, there ought to be some formal mechanism for reviewing outcomes. Because although we have that literature from the 60s and 70s, it's not the greatest literature in the world. It doesn't involve developmentally delayed kids who may have a different sort of array or side effect profile and so on. And the other thing that would allow you to do is if you do a really good outcome review that extends for decades, you can make sure that this isn't being done on kids who later grow up and actually would like to or be capable of raising a child, which would be the worst possible outcome. So those are my principles, and if you don't like them, I do have others. Now, I love this quote by the CEO of Visa. Everything has both intended and unintended consequences. The intended consequences may or may not happen. The unintended consequences always do. Um, so, you know, the title had a boring, the paper had a boring title. We didn't think anybody would notice it. Nonetheless, I was a little nervous, so I called our PR department a week before the publication date, and I said, you should just know this is coming out. I don't think anybody's going to see it. I don't think anybody's going to care. But I want you to know about it so that, if somebody cares, you're ready. And it's a good thing I made that call because the aftermath was a bit of a zoo. So Ashley's treatment actually occurred in 2004. The Archives article came out in October of 2006. And there was a fairly significant flurry of media attention after the original article, with probably the best piece appearing in the Ben Bulletin, which was actually a really nice story. It was well balanced. They had interviewed another mother of a child with developmental disabilities down in Oregon. But it was the Ben Bulletin, let's face it. I mean, 5 people maybe read it. And so despite the fact that it was probably the best article written of the whole bunch, it was in the Ben Bulletin. And so nobody noticed it. And then it died down more or less. I mean, there were some disability rights organizations that continued to make a fair amount of noise, and the blog sites were fairly active. But the press, it was over for the press because the story had been told. But in the interim, the press was not very happy with us because what they really wanted was the family. And we had sat down several times with the family and said, you don't want to go there. You don't want people knowing who you are. It's going to disrupt your family. You've got other young kids. This is just not, there's no reason to do that. Let this remain fairly theoretical. And they agreed with that assessment. Their initial response was, the only way we'll do a media interview is if Oprah calls. Well, there was a day where Oprah called.
Spoiler alert,
And
Oprah
at
did
that
call.
point, we went back to the family and we said, Oprah called. And we still recommend you not talk to Oprah. And they said, that's probably a good idea. So Oprah didn't get to do the piece. But what the family did do, they didn't like the initial media coverage. And that initial flurry of media coverage was pretty unfair to the family. I mean, it painted this as a selfish decision and, all done to make their lives easier and so on. And it was fairly unfair. And so Dad felt he needed to tell their story. So what he did was he wrote an extensive blog about what they had gone through and why they had made the decisions they did. And he put some pictures of Ashley on there. And then he, on New Year's Day of 2007, he emailed a reporter at the LA Times because that was the guy who was the most persistent, who kept making contact with him and saying, I really like to do your story. And he said, I'm still not doing my story. I'm not doing media interviews, but I just want you to know that I just went live with the blog and nobody knows about it except you. So if you want to do your story based on what's there, you can use the pictures, you can use the material, and you'll have a scoop. And that's exactly what happened. And that is actually when the media onslaught occurred. That's when it went viral, it went national, it went international. That's when Time Magazine got interested, People Magazine, and everybody else. For almost 2 weeks, we did almost nonstop interviews. And we had to make a conscious decision about that. Our PR department initially came to me and said, we're not quite sure how to handle this. There's part of our administration that thinks we ought to just refuse to do any interviews. And I said, if we refuse to do interviews, then we're essentially saying no comment. And when you say no comment, it makes it sound like you can't defend what you did. And I said, we had good reasons for doing this. We still believe that we did the right thing for this little girl, so let us tell our story. And that's what we did for 2 weeks. And what we saw was that public opinion shifted the more we told the story and why the parents did what they did and had the reasons they had. That did not keep some individuals from protesting. It didn't keep disability rights groups, at least some of them, for condemning what we had done and so on. But got fairly broad coverage. It gave me, there was one day in my life I heard, it was the same day I heard two things I never thought I'd hear ever. The first was Oprah called, and the second was they're ready for your People magazine photo shoot. Seriously. So as I said, there were lots of people who had different opinions here, and there was a lot of coverage that was really irresponsible. There was one very prominent bioethicist, for example, that sort of labeled this the Peter Pan syndrome, which is silly because Peter Pan doesn't get older, Ashley gets older. So it's a bad analogy for an ethicist to be using. But he also referred to her as being frozen in time. So I started getting emails from people asking me when we were going to thaw out Ashley. I'm totally serious about this. There were people that thought we had actually frozen her, which, you know, kind of is beyond belief, but I actually got more than one email from somebody asking about that. There were people that thought we had done surgery to shorten her, like cut off parts of her bones. And I mean, the misinformation was absolutely phenomenal. And a lot of people's judgments were being driven by this sort of misinformation. There was outrage by some of the disability rights advocates who started picketing in front of the AMA because it was an AMA journal that published the paper, and ultimately investigated our hospital. Our hospital was investigated by the state agency. Unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, a court order had not been obtained for the hysterectomy. The main reason for that was the family hired a lawyer to do that. It was a disability rights lawyer who had a disabled child himself, and he reviewed Washington state case law and wrote them a 3-page letter that basically stated they did not need a court opinion because the case did not apply to cases like Ashley's. So rather than getting a court order, he wrote them an opinion that said, you don't need to do this, it's unnecessary. And that's what they presented to the surgeon and the medical director when they showed up for surgery. And the mistake that the hospital made was not having that letter reviewed by hospital counsel. You know, instead it was reviewed by 2 well-meaning physicians who didn't really know exactly what this meant, but it looked pretty good and proceeded. But it was because of that that the hospital ended up having to negotiate an agreement, because they had essentially at least done, the reality is they had 2 choices. They could negotiate an agreement or they could adjudicate it with the courts. And my guess is the courts may very well have sided with the hospital, but hospitals don't like that kind of publicity. You know, hospital being sued by disability rights organization, right? I mean, it's just not what hospitals want. So the hospital negotiated an agreement that basically said we would obtain a court order in the future for not only hysterectomies but growth attenuation treatment, and that we would put an individual with a disability on our ethics committee, all of which was done. That series of events had a chilling effect on other physicians and institutions. We have not done another case since Ashley, in large part because our endocrinologists won't go anywhere near it because they watched one of their own go through this and don't want to have the same thing happen to them. The chilling effect has had one very important result. It has not necessarily stopped the growth attenuation from occurring, but what it is absolutely guaranteed is that we can't study it. So when Dan Gunther and I wrote our paper, one of the most important things we recommended was that there be review of outcomes. That has now become impossible because nobody will talk about what they're doing and nobody will write about it, and there's no way to find out how extensively this is being done, whether it's going well. There's an informal network of some families that have gotten it done in various places, but that isn't data. So unfortunately, we created a big problem for ourselves in that sense. Now, there were a number of objections cited. I'm going to just go through 5 of them briefly. The reality is, what I started doing when all of this started happening is I read almost everything written about the Ashley case on the blogs and on the line and in the newspapers, and in scholarly, there were about 20 scholarly articles written about the case. And I cataloged
I'm gonna pause
every
real quick.
ethical objection.
So he also did a paper following the controversy on the reasons why you on the controversy and why people have issues with it, and addressed the thing. So there was a separate paper he wrote, I think with another person, on this topic, on how you deal with it and the ways to deal with it and all that shit. And he went through point by point, addressed a lot of them very specifically, and still, after seeing all the objections, was like, we feel this is the best treatment. It's not a TED Talk, Squall Shade. It's a presentation at a university. It's from U of M Center of Bioethics is where the presentation took place. So it was an interesting video I found just searching for shit I wanted to put something visual up. And I found this. I know it's an hour 15, but I feel it's a great presentation from one of the people involved in the ethical determination for the situation. You can see he's a rational person. He's making very specific decisions, very invested in the situation, wanting to make sure it gets done right. And like he said, the committee went in there and they were like, there's no way we're going to let all this stuff go down. And then like by the end of it, they flipped on, hey, we've been able to determine that this is the right choice for the child, that this is the right steps to take. So they went from one side to the other for the whole committee because you needed the committee to back it up. So to be able to have it done. And yes, he addresses the small mistake with the court order with the thing, but I'm pretty sure it was recorded a little bit, a couple years before this, so I don't remember off the top of my head. But it's still, regardless, an interesting video. So let's go ahead and finish that, and then we'll dig into a couple other things I have on the topic. So let's continue.
And there were like 30 of them. And then I responded to each of them. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to go through some of the more common ones. The first of which was that what we did to her was not natural. And I guess my general response to that is, well, neither is medicine. And so we may as well get rid of everything we do if that's the case. Vaccinations aren't natural. Dialysis is not natural. And good grief, taking a kidney from one person and putting it in another person in a transplantation procedure is way not natural. So, and if you just look at Ashley's, the group of kids like Ashley, we're putting in G-tubes, we're putting in trachs. I mean, none of that is natural. So, this is not really an objection that carries much water, the fact that it's not natural. We also got accused of playing God. And again, I would say we're playing God every time we do something medically. I mean, I work in an ER and I play God all the time in the sense that I intervene with the natural trajectory of people's illnesses, hopefully saving their lives or helping them avoid disability or feel a little better. But the fact of the matter is we do play God when we do that. And probably more importantly, it is to recognize that when we sit in a room as an ethics committee and decide that Ashley's parents can do that, there may be a sense in which we're playing God. But if we sit in the same room and tell Ashley's parents they can't do that, we're also playing God. So this argument, again, really
makes a really good point on that, in my opinion.
You're making a decision that affects somebody else's life. I would, if you want to put that in theological terms, I would describe that as stewardship, not playing God. Playing God is when you're arrogant enough to think you're God, and I don't think anybody did in this case. The slippery slope argument was a very popular one. There were a number of people who said, well, it's probably okay to do this for Ashley because of all her, individual needs and so on, but there's a big slippery slope here, and the next thing you know, you're going to be doing it to somebody who has a mild disability and it shouldn't be done on. And what I would say about slippery slopes is it's a warning. You got to be careful. And I'm very familiar with slippery slopes. I showed you 2 pictures of Mount Baker. I've been on top of that mountain twice, and it's not particularly easy or safe to get to the top. But I decided to climb it, and you decide to climb it for 2 reasons. You're on a slippery slope, and you could slip and fall, and there could be a big problem. That's what the slippery slope's all about. But there's 2 important points to make. The first is, if you're just on the slippery slope and you got no good reason to be there, that's kind of dumb. But the reason you're on the slippery slope is there's some benefit there. In other words, you've made a judgment that, climbing this thing and getting to the top is actually worth the risk I'm taking. And that's what you're doing in cases like Ashley's case. Probably the more important thing is you don't just climb the slippery slope. You put protection in place. So when I'm climbing Mount Baker, I've got an ice axe. I know how to use it. I'm with a team of guys I trust or women I trust. We're roped together. We've got crampons on our feet. We've scoped out the conditions ahead of time. We checked in with the Park Service to see what the route's like. We've done a lot of things to keep from sliding down the slippery slope and getting into trouble. That doesn't mean it can't happen, but it makes it a whole lot less likely to happen when you use care. And that's what the slippery slope does. And so, you know, the precautionary principle is sort of a principle that some people use to argue against this, which is a form of the slippery slope argument. And that is to say, when there are risks involved with doing this kind of thing, you just shouldn't do it. And again, the problem with the precautionary principle is that it really doesn't allow you to gain any benefits that might come from doing something that carries some risks. Objection 4 was that this benefited the parents, not the child, and I just think that's wrong. I think with parents of developmentally disabled kids will tell you that it's impossible to unwind their interests from their child's interests. Parents in general will tell you that. I mean, they're so intertwined that, you know, oftentimes what benefits your child benefits you as well, but that doesn't mean it doesn't benefit your child. So it's unfair to sort of characterize these decisions this way. And then finally, there was an argument that this somehow violated her dignity. And that to me represents an assertion without any content. Nobody ever described to me why it violated her dignity or what was undignified about what we were doing, or what the meaning of dignity is, what they mean by that. It was just simply the assertion that it violated her dignity. And I never quite understood what that's supposed to mean if you don't describe it. And why this was undignified for Ashley, it's unclear to me. Her parents actually requested all three things precisely because they valued her dignity. They did this because they thought it would benefit their daughter. And it seems to me that that's valuing her as a person and investing her with dignity. So these are basically tragic choices. I don't think there's an easy answer to this issue. I think in retrospect, what we did for Ashley was probably in her benefit. Her parents will tell you that it clearly was. But these are situations without a clearly good choice. This is what we describe as tragic choices. There's no perfect choice here. You have to sort of muddle through. You have to do what you think is the best, and you do so with courage and humility. And that's about the most that you can ask of people in these difficult situations. As Stanley Hauerwas says, the demands of living morally are hard. We do not wish to face the truth that we live in the world where honesty and faithfulness don't always lead to good results and consequences, but sometimes to tragic choices. Have there been other cases? There have. For the most part, we don't know how many. We don't know in many cases where they have occurred, but we do know, and I hear from parents periodically, that they've had this done at one place or another. And I think that's unfortunate that we have lost the ability to track outcomes, because we had the opportunity to learn about this as we move forward, and now it's happening in secrecy, which is a little bit unfortunate. Ashley is now, this is an old slide, she's now 16 years old. Her parents continue to be very, very happy about the results. Ashley is continuing to thrive, but also has not progressed from a cognitive perspective. She's stopped growing at 4'5". She's about 65 pounds now in weight. Her dad can still lift her without the use of mechanical devices, and as I said, they're quite happy about that. I would point out 4'5" is not freakishly small, particularly for somebody who's in a wheelchair. And one of the other things that sort of we got accused of was that we were taking this, her and turning her into some kind of a circus act, some kind of a freak. And we're not talking about her being 18 inches tall. I mean, she's a short woman, and if you don't take her clothes off, you don't know she's had a breast bud removal, and you don't know that she's missing a uterus, and there's nothing. You met her on the street, you would have no idea that she had undergone any of these procedures. And so that's Ashley. So I'm going to stop there, and I think we have a little time for questions and so on, if people have them. Yes?
So there's another component of the story that I think makes her unique, and that was that she presented
Yeah.
story. That's not to say that kids with severe developmental delay don't sometimes have puberty, but
Yeah.
that whole piece, and I don't know if that element of it, if you guys ever talked about it. The other kind of medical question I had was, did anybody chase down what they thought the source of her precocious puberty was? I mean, I don't know that it was necessary.
So the issue is, the question with regard to Ashley is about the precocious puberty issue. And, I don't know if the endocrinologist sought a cause for that. What I hear from people who take care of kids like Ashley is this is actually a pretty common problem, that they frequently do go into, they do experience precocious puberty. And so I'm not sure. You may be able to help here. I don't know if you work it up in kids like Ashley, or you just.
So I'm a pediatric endocrinologist, like Brad Miller, and so we do look for causes, and frequently do MRIs and testing, et cetera, and most often don't find anything other than
Yep.
their underlying condition. Precocious puberty happens when the normal regulation to stop puberty doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
So if you have brain damage, it's a pretty common process that their body says, I don't have the normal brakes for puberty, so I'm just going to.
Yeah. And as far as Ashley goes, that was actually one aspect of her situation that was not discussed extensively by the committee, that she was experiencing precocious puberty, which, for us that presented a timing issue. You either have to do it now or you've lost your opportunity. After the fact, we discussed it a great deal, because after the fact I found myself spending a lot of time with endocrinologists that I hadn't before. And this came up very frequently in conversations, and there were two aspects of those conversations. The first of which is that when you've got a young girl like Ashley who's already experiencing precocious puberty, that almost certainly is going to attenuate their growth all by itself. So you can get a few more inches with high-dose estrogen, but you've already got somebody who's going to be considerably shorter than their genetic potential if you don't interfere with it. And that's the second aspect that sort of I learned in these discussions, is that there were many endocrinologists who had actually been seeing patients with precocious puberty who also had profound developmental disability, and having this discussion with parents. We can stop the precocious puberty, but you need to ask yourself whether you really want to do that and what your reasons are, because here's what will happen if you do, and here's what will happen if you don't. And for some parents, they didn't want their child to develop secondary sex characteristics early, and so they're willing to take the extra height to avoid that. But for other parents, they're willing to make the trade if their child ends up a little smaller. So it's an interesting added element. Yes?
I'm wondering about when this whole media circus happened. I have two questions about it. One is, obviously there was great academic benefit and benefit to the medical community, and you're probably going to address this in the future by publishing the case.
Yeah.
Do you ever regret the fact that you published it because it caused this chilling effect and this media firestorm and,
No, I mean, I have somewhat mixed feelings. I guess I feel my overall belief is that we shouldn't not be talking about things just because some people don't want us talking about them. And so I think it's important that people write this kind of article. I have a lot of colleagues who say you were really brave to do that, and I don't think that was the case. I'm probably more stubborn than brave. I just think if there's an issue that needs to be discussed, somebody should write about it, and if nobody else is going to, then I'm going to. And my biggest regret, though, I think there was a lost opportunity here, because this was a phenomenal opportunity for the disability rights organizations to use this case and say, we can make this unnecessary for a lot of families if we just can convince legislators to give sufficient funding to these families that they can actually modify their homes and bring in lifts for the families that want to do that. And that's what I thought would happen, and I was profoundly disappointed that the disability rights community went on the attack and lost that what I thought was a wonderful opportunity to actually benefit many of these families. And many of these families actually felt as if the disability rights community didn't understand their needs and turned their back on them, which was unfortunate. I mean, I think it was a lost opportunity. And that probably was my biggest disappointment, because there was a real opportunity here by not going as negative as many of them went, and it got lost.
My other question is, the first time I ever heard this case, the first words that I heard were the pillow angel.
Yeah, yeah.
Where did that, and that to me seems like a real spot where the rhetoric got
Yeah.
twisted into something that was dark and scary and
Yeah.
inaccurate.
Yeah.
Where did that phrase come from?
So the pillow angel, that is, mom and dad called Ashley their pillow angel. And, you know, and I know a lot of people found that kind of creepy. But, you know, parents have pet names for their kids, and some of them are pretty creepy and to other people. So, you know, when I heard the pillow angel, I mean, I didn't really have a response. My response was, well, if that's what they want to call her, that's fine. And, you know, I think there was more sympathy from other families who had kids like Ashley, because they understood what that term meant, which is, you know, we have a kid who we really value. That's the angel part. And about all she's capable of doing is lying on pillows. And she's lying on pillows because we don't want her to get decubitus ulcers. So, I mean, it's actually rooted in their life experience. And oh, and totally. And that was a big problem. So the Pillow Angel title came out from Dad's blog. I mean, it's pillowangel.org. And so that's the blog site. If you Google pillowangel.org, you'll get their blog site. And they call her their pillow angel. I mean, they call her Ashley when they talk to people. But that's their sort of pet name for her. And, you know, my feeling is, you know, if that's what they want to call her, let them call her that. I mean, for them, it's a term of value, and it means something. And it's not for me to judge whether that meaning is, you know, in reality, the way they use it, it's not creepy, even though a lot of people interpret it that way. I was a little distressed that, you know, you don't have anything better to talk about than what the family calls their kid. I mean, because there was a lot of really negative stuff surrounding that term. People just started attacking the family for what they called their daughter, and it was just, come on.
I think we have time for maybe one more question. I wish we had more time.
In the back there, right in the middle. Yes. So it's a good question for somebody who's not in medicine. I see a lot of the doctors in the audience going. That's been routine practice for decades. The appendix, as far as we know, has no known function, and it can cause problems. And so for literally decades, I mean, as long as I've been in medicine, the practice has been, if you're going into the abdomen anyway, for any reason, take the appendix while you're there. That way, there's two reasons for that. The first is, once it's gone, this patient can't get appendicitis, so they won't require a second surgery. The second is, when this patient comes in with abdominal pain, which may be because they've had abdominal surgery, we at least don't have to put that on the differential diagnosis. So it makes our evaluation easier. And I can tell you, as an ER doc, I really appreciate those kids who come in without an appendix. Makes my job so much easier. But that's why they did it. It was nothing specific to Ashley. It was just, you had a general surgeon going into her abdomen for another reason, and that's just what they did. And they get the parent's permission to do that, or the patient's permission. But that's really routine.
Thank you all for coming. I wish we had more time.
Okay, so that was the presentation by the doctor who was part of the ethics committee involved in that process, right? So like I said, it was a difficult thing to kind of assess and review and make a decent determination on, right? How do you determine if it's the right call? It's hard. Oh shit. How about now? How about now? Is that better? I turned off that. I think I turned off the thing. So hopefully, God damn it. Hold on. Turn off. Okay, is it off now? Or let me do this. How about that? Is that normal? Normal volume levels? Is that normal volume levels? Is this better? How about now? Is that normal volume levels? I'm kind of talking loud. I'm on purpose. Kind of talking loud on purpose. So, how about that? Is that better? Is it still loud? Hold on. Shit. Turn off. Is that better? I might have to just disable the stupid extension. Manage extensions. Turn off. Okay, I turned off the extension, so that should fix it. I think that's better. Let me know if it's not. If it's not, I will fix it. So, welcome to Louder with Jennings. Right, so I hope that's better. So, I did come across, and I think you'll find this interesting. Yeah, y'all just need to turn your speed. It's all your fault, not mine. I have nothing to do with it. You need to go and do your ethics class. I'm not even pronouncing it. It can't. Is it that hot? There's no way it's that hot. God damn it. Let me check. Let me listen. Let me listen to the stream. I hate listening to the stream because I hate listening to myself. God damn it. I hope I don't have to turn off the stupid thing and come back. Hold on. Is it so loud? Okay, yeah, it's really fucking loud. Hold on. Son of a bitch. How did it do that? Shit. Where did it go? Manage extensions. Where is the volume extension? Volume booster, details. Okay, I turned off the thing. It should work now. Let's see if it lowered the volume at all. Is it lower? Is it lower now? God damn it. Let me see if I can turn it down somewhere else. Okay, I turned it down a little bit in the back end on StreamYard. And let me just go ahead and manage this extension, remove it. And let's just straight up remove this bitch. Okay. Okay, I brought the mic volume down to, I'm at 75 in StreamYard now. Let's see if that does anything. Let me also check some other options here to see what the hell's going on. Let's see. How about now? Let's try this. I brought the volume down in my actual microphone. Is it better? Testing 1, 2, 3. Is the microphone volume okay? So I don't blow everyone's ears out. Okay. All right. We'll roll with it like it is. I'll back off the mic a bit, and I'll turn the mic down a bit better. Hopefully that deals with the fucking issue, because now I'm mad, because now I can't figure out why the fuck my mic's not working right. God damn it. Everything's going wrong today. Why is everything going wrong? God damn. Okay. I'm like, normally, like, I've got the mic like right up next to my lips, but on an angle. And now I'm having to like be like 6 inches away from the mic. So I don't know what that extension did on Chrome, but I've had to turn so much shit down to get the volume to this level. So let's continue. Oh my god, that was a horrible idea to install that extension on the fly. Never do that again. Never do that again. Jesus Christ. All right. Let's see, where'd it go? So let's do this next. Let me bring this over here. So for those who aren't, who are kind of struggling to grasp what procedures the child underwent, let's do this real quick. So Microsoft Word, AT summary. All right. So this is what the child underwent as far as procedures. So I'll zoom in a bit. So this is something put out by the parents a while back. Let me make it full screen. So this is on their website. So if you're interested in this case, you can go to pillowangel.org and kind of follow it more closely. They've got some information up there. So, you know, again, it explains Ashley's condition, what it means for her, and then it goes into the treatment. So the Ashley treatment. And so the primary benefits and then additional benefits are in these colors. So improves her quality of life, makes it easier to care for. So the breast bud removal. So they remove the glands that enlarge upon puberty, turning to your breast. Simple surgery, pre-puberty. And again, primary benefit, eliminate discomfort caused from large breasts, lying down or in a supportive harness. Eliminate possibility of fibrocystic growth. Eliminate possibility of breast cancer. Avoid sexualization towards caregivers. The appendectomy, commonly done when you're doing abdominal surgeries. Yes, they did 3 surgeries all in one to make it so she only had to do anesthesia once, which was really nice way to deal with it. So they did the hysterectomy. They removed her uterus. Again, she's sick, so she's tiny, so it's an easy procedure to do. They looked at alternatives, but they weren't as effective according to the parents' graph here. Eliminate menstrual cramps and pain, eliminate bleeding, possibility of pregnancy, and possibility of uterine cancer as she gets older. And then sizing for wellness was the idea behind the growth attenuation. So on estrogen patches for 2 years to speed up the closure of her growth plates, 40% and 20% reduction in weight and in height respectively, which is good. It helps the caregivers. It helps it for someone who lays in bed all the time. You don't have as much pressure on you. You're less likely to get sores and stuff. Decrease the chance of needing scoliosis surgery by slowing its progression down. Increased mobility of caregiver. So that by reducing her size, it makes her easier to be part of the family. It allows her to be able to go swimming, to go do those fun family activities by being smaller versus, you know, a large, because I mean, myself, I'm right now, I'm 6'1", 190. Imagine if I was in the same state. You can't do that with someone my size. So Colonel Crayon, this child has a severe developmental delay where she only has and will likely only ever have the cognitive level of an infant. She can't speak, she can't walk, she can't hold herself up. She literally lays all the time on a bed, on a pillow, unless she's up and about in like special equipment. She can't move on her own. She has to eat through a feeding tube. It's that level of function. So it was a procedure done to help take care of the child. She went into puberty at 6 because she had precocious puberty due to the impact that the issue in her brain was caused her to go through puberty early. So, it was a procedure done to help take care of the child and to help make it to where long term she was able to be cared for much more easily. So that was, like I said, something put out by the family. Let's see here. What else do I got? I got some other stuff. I got a really good thing that a couple really interesting things here I think you guys will like. So, because you guys got to see the perspective of someone who was part of the ethics panel, and you got to see, kind of someone who's in agreement with it. And so what I'm going to show you now is there's two things that are kind of related. So the first one is, let me pull these off into a separate window so I can manage it easier. Okay, so let's do it this way. Oh shit, I did that wrong. Well shit. What the hell did I do? And let's go back here. God damn it, that's not what I'm trying to do. Where is... So I can close that tab. I can't see all the screen because of the way my other screen is messed up. Okay, there we go. Finally, goddamn. All right, so let's do this. So share screen and Chrome tab, and it's okay. So report Ashley treatment. Where'd it go? So, as part of the fallout from this, again, there was a disability rights organization that went out, and this article here details it a bit. Is the disability organization? It's called Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund. I believe was who did this investigation, and they did like a 78-page report. So the first of its kind report casting a harsh light on what's believed to be a growing practice of parents utilizing controversial medical treatments to physically alter people with disabilities. So the report basically calls the entire process unethical. What I found interesting, so this is just an article on this website about it's Disability Scoop, insight into stuff like that. And so, like it says here, many disability advocates criticize the approach as it violated Ashley's rights. Nevertheless, the use of the treatment is believed to be on the rise, and the current report includes 2 stories of others who have undergone the treatment. Basically, they're saying it's a violation of the child's rights. What I found the most interesting was the comments on this article. So we'll skim a few of these real quick because, and again, these are like older comments, like 7, 9 years old, right? So let's read some of them. Let's sort by best. There's only 13, but I thought some of them were interesting. David here says, let me zoom in a little bit more. David said, those against this treatment should walk a few miles in the shoes of the parent of the children this procedure is being considered for. The basis of the desire is love, the ability to care for the child in their home and not send them to a nursing facility for care. With all the rights in the world, how about the right to be cared for by loved ones at home? This procedure can make that possible for families. So that's an interesting perspective. Again, this is 7 years ago, so I think it was like 2 years after the article was released, right? Again, these are like the best comments, according to Discuss or whatever. Catherine to Patty. As someone who has a 14-year-old daughter with significant disability who menstruates, your fears about managing her period are a little exaggerated. It's not incredibly difficult, but my daughter is upset about the blood, and now she's on a monthly pill that many other teenagers and young women take, so she's only had 2 to 4 periods a year. That's common. That's pretty true. There are ways to, make yourself with certain types of birth control. You can do that. If she's an institution, a freak or pervert who decides to abuse her is not going to care if your child menstruates or is physically smaller than a grown woman. One of the best ways to protect our kids from abuse is for more people to know them, for more typical people to be in their lives and care about them. Segregation makes our kids more vulnerable, but not less. For that reason alone, I will work for community integration and community living supports that keep her out of an institution when I'm gone. I think that's a good goal to have. Let's see here. Jessica says, my son has autism and is physically aggressive. He throws things, attacks me with fists, intentionally headbutts me, kicks my throat when I change him, and bites my thighs when I am standing up and he is angry. If he does not get the therapy he needs, recent autism insurance legislation was passed, but the details are still unknown about securing therapists, then he could become an adult who does those things to me. I weigh in at 110 pounds and 5'2". His father is 6 foot and 230 pounds. My son is currently 2.5 and is already 3, I'm assuming, foot tall and 33 pounds. What will happen if he gets too big and I can't control him? I would never consider stunting his growth, though. So, again, it's another perspective of someone who's got a disabled child. But again, just as a criticism, this person seems to be dealing with a child who's a higher level of functioning than Ashley, right? So Thomas says supporters of the Ashley treatment should find themselves staring into the mirror on a daily basis, pondering every single imperfection they find in themselves, and pursuing everything from salon treatments to plastic surgery. Heaven forbid they should ever experience diabetes, a car accident, or something similar. After all, from their perspective, things such as organ transplantation or even assisted suicide would suit them adequately. Perish the thought such Ashley treatment supporters should ever experience a form of disability where they lose their voice or ability to make independent decisions. Such an experience would find them in the hands of family members who have been persuaded by their philosophies for years. Yikes. So this person seems to be very anti-Ashley treatment. So, again, these are people who have disabilities or have family members with disabilities. So you're getting the insight from basically the source in a way. So this is why I like this comment section, because it was people who live this kind of life. And H. Demick says, it is for the caregiver. My girl is almost 18.5 pounds and approximately, I think she meant something else. And approximately 4 foot 10 inches. I am very blessed for her small size. She has all her girly parts and starts her periods on time. I can barely lift her. For all you people who don't want to wipe butts, stay in and out, to see to positioning, exercises, socializing, fight with school, medical, no dentist, fight every day of your life. For your child's basic rights, shut up. I will gladly take the less of two evils to keep my child with me. At this time, society does not support living with the family. I have worked in the hospital for 30 years, and time again I have seen persons with open bed sores and webbed toes from nursing homes with no one to fight for them. And there's a big difference medically. Are you doing something for her, or are you doing something to them? And withholding something is totally different than making a quality of life available. Also, this is for a very disabled, not able to communicate even with technology, unable to move, high risk for breakdown. For those of you I yelled at, it would be good if you would walk up to a disabled person and say a big hi, mom of a disabled young adult. So I could see there's a bit of a disagreement in the chat. Does anyone want to come up and discuss it with me? Have a conversation about it? I'm happy to have people on the show. This would be something that would be good for back and forth. If people have questions, it's easier to engage dynamically with having you on the stream. Is anyone wanting to come up? I can post the invite link in chat. Let's see. While I wait for the stream to catch up. So Patty says, as a mother of an 8-year-old daughter who has significant developmental delays, she functions on the 6 to 12 month level. I would love to be able to keep her from going into puberty. I will be the one responsible for cleaning her every month when she has her period. She is the one that will possibly suffer from menstrual cramps. If I could just keep this tiny bit of suffering out of her life, I would do it in a heartbeat, as would many of my friends. At some point, she will have to go into some sort of institutionalized setting, as my husband and I are not going to live forever. The thought of some freak or pervert raping her just nauseates me. There are two sides to every story. Oh, come on, Shinobu. Here, let me do this. If you guys change your mind, if not, but let me go ahead and do this. I'll just go ahead and post it. If anyone wants to come up and discuss it, there's the link. Feel free to have the back and forth with me. I'm very nice, as you can tell. So, but this is something I think, if you have questions or concerns on this topic, I'm here to answer that. So, and there's only like 13 comments, so we'll be done with this section soon. What is this? So this is interesting. So Ann Masadi says, this is disgusting and outrageous. A similar situation occurred recently in Philadelphia where a Down syndrome child was denied a kidney for a transplant. A petition was posted and subsequently the hospital physicians saw the light. I urge more petitions to be used to fight this horrible evil of, quote, playing God. Now remember, the doctor addressed the playing God part with human life. It smacks of Nazi Germany where the flawed were considered expedient. Go to change.org and go for it. So let me pin the link comment. Yeah. So let me pin that real quick. So, okay, that's now pinned. All right. So VM Gillen says, forget the AMA. I've given up on the medical profession as a whole. Though there are many excellent individual professionals, many of the problem persons with disabilities face are constructed by medical professionals. No, my friends, we are looking at violations of the 14th Amendment. And please, be very, very careful when speaking about this issue. There is a big difference between withholding antibiotics and insisting on life-sustaining treatments, which could be nothing more than torture to secure a short medical prolongation in the face of a foregoing conclusion. Check some of the case law on this. It ranks up there with Ashley's case for creepy, disgusting wrongness. D. Show if you've hit the nail on the head. I'm assuming another user here. So, Jackie says, it is sad that people are so selfish they could even think of altering another person's body for any reason, let alone abdicating that because someone is disabled. Murdering them because of this would be acceptable. It is a sick statement to the mindset of our society of today. After all, not all disabled people become disabled because of a birth defect. Think about how many people become disabled due to a traumatic life-altering event later in life. That end part's interesting. I agree with that to a certain extent. CJ says, Dr. Phil had a parent on who thought she would have the right to murder her two kids who have developmental disabilities. What? I need to look that up. That would be an interesting episode to watch. Mind you, the word murder was not used, but the point is that they were talking about. He gave her a lot of time on stage to talk about her point and gave a dissenting mother about a minute to speak from the chair in the audience. Near the end of the segment, he asked the audience how many people supported the wannabe murderer's point of view. Most people raised their hands. We have our work cut out for us. So I'm assuming it was a discussion on whether or not, if you have a child who has developmental delays, whether or not you should be able to effectively put them down or euthanize or abort them to some degree. I think it's an issue of that could be concerning, right? Should you be able to do that to a child if they have that severe of a developmental disability? If so, where's the line at? Where do you decide to draw the line of this is okay, this part isn't? I think, it's not necessarily an easy discussion. Oh, we have a friend of the channel. Welcome, Twisted.
Sup?
Oh God, your voice is loud as shit. Let me bring your mic down.
Bro, I have the mic like away from me. I don't know how.
Maybe it's just me. I put you down like 47 on my volume controls.
Okay, I'm like not even that loud.
So what are your thoughts on this case?
Well, first, my thoughts on the comments on the article that you're reading is most of those people have children that can actually function.
I think that's part of the issue is that they're not
Yeah.
seeing the
They're not
level of
seeing it
function.
from the problem that they've basically got an invalid who cannot move, cannot do anything for themselves, cannot even walk. They literally can't do anything.
They're severely dependent on other people to live.
Yeah.
If they were left to defend for themselves, they would die.
Like the
And-
woman that was talking about their autistic son who kicks and bites them. Yeah, your autistic son that kicks and bites you can do therapy to curb that behavior and learn to function in society at a level that they can take care of themselves. Possibly, they would probably still need some sort of additional care, later in life, because it looks like, it sounds like they're going to need assisted living no matter what, but they can still have some sort of autonomy. This child can't. They're almost brain dead, sadly.
They kind
But
of
it-
are.
Well, I
way.
mean, to a degree. I mean,
They have
there's
some level of recognition of emotion. Like they can
Yeah.
recognize that, but that's about it.
right. So they're basically just a baby.
They're a long-term baby. Yep. That's
Yeah.
probably a good way to put it.
They're a baby, and you have to look at it that way. Like the case study even mentions that she can't hold her own head up. Like she was never able to gain that skill, and like she probably has, like, if they're not doing like the correct muscle exercises and whatnot, she probably has severe muscle atrophy and whatnot from like the muscles not developing at all. And like, at least the kid has some sort of quality of life.
Yeah.
It's not like she's just sitting in a nursing home or something like that, wasting away and getting bed sores and being abused by staff that aren't medically trained to deal with anything.
I think that's one of the upsides you have is you have a family who wants the child in the family and and they don't want them to go to a care center or something, right?
They wanted to find a way to care for the child within the scope of what they were capable of doing, instead of just throwing her away. And it seems harsh, it seems horrific, but it, to the best of their ability, to give the child a life that has some semblance of happiness. They just want to make her as comfortable and happy as they can while they're living and while she's living. And there's no guarantee that she's going to make it to full adulthood. To be quite honest with that,
she was born in 97. She's still alive, so I mean, she's an adult now. 2007. She's definitely an adult now.
Okay, well, I mean, there's no guarantee she's going to live that much longer, though, with that severe of a disability.
Exactly. You have
I mean,
to factor that
especially
in.
with scoliosis. Because I didn't know that part. That part wasn't even mentioned in like the couple of articles I read through when you proposed this topic.
Say that one more time. I'm trying to do multiple things. Sorry.
Like, I didn't know about the scoliosis when you
Yeah.
proposed when I read the couple of articles I read through when you proposed the topic. And I'm like, well, shit.
There's a lot of shit that you have to deal with.
Yeah, because I mean, moving her around, that can be very painful for somebody with scoliosis. Because for anyone that doesn't know, scoliosis is a severe curvature of the spine. Common had that. That's why he walked with a cane and whatnot, because his spine was basically fused at the neck, between the neck and the shoulders, and he had like basically a hunchback, and he walked with a limp and whatnot, and he was in severe pain even at 19 years old.
Yeah. So I'm going to put a poll up real quick. I know there's only a few of us here now because some people left the chat earlier after I kicked them. So I'm going to put up a poll
I mean,
and
they
ask...
kind of deserved it.
Yes, they did. So the poll is the Ashley treatment a violation of the child's civil rights? So the options are yes, no, and I'm not sure. Also, Phoebes, welcome back. So she does have scoliosis to a certain degree, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was part of what the you were showing, that the sped up puberty was to help deal with, was to uh to curb that so it wouldn't progress any further.
Yeah, and so there's another. So here's the report. If so, devaluing people with disability. Okay, so this is the report that was done. That, and like I said, if you look up here in the corner, it's 76 pages, right? So this is in 2012. So devaluing people with disabilities, medical procedures that violate civil rights. This was done by the National Disability Rights Network. This was one of the groups that came out hard fucking core against the issue when the paper was written, and they were one of the people, I think, that helped that were responsible for the hospital getting investigated.
I would like to see their tax papers, because I'm guessing they're claiming to be a 501c, and I would like to see their tax papers and see where their money goes. Because if they're anything like Autism Awareness Network, or I think that's it, ASAN, whatever it is, that always goes after Autism Speaks. Those people only they take all of the money, use it as a smear campaign, or they pocket it. And I'm wondering if this group does similar things.
I cannot speak to that at all. So
those types of groups, when they go hardcore at stuff like that, it always makes me a little bit suspicious, because you can never really tell if they're really a rights group, if they're just really in it for the money.
So here is the letter from the executive director of this organization as part of this paper, right? So he says, his name's at the bottom here, I think, Kurt Decker, and this was in 2012, so I don't know if he's still the executive director. It says, right now, somewhere in America, parents or guardians are sitting down with a doctor to discuss withholding life-sustaining medical treatments in situations where there is no terminal disease, or removing their child's sex organs, breast buds, and stunting growth with hormone treatments. The latter practice, commonly called the Ashley treatment, after the first known child to undergo this procedure, is the latest and most disgraceful point on the long continuum of ways our society devalues and violates the rights of people with disabilities. These conversations happen because their persons being considered are viewed as having little value as they are. They are considered as not fully human, endowed with an inalienable rights of liberty, privacy, and the right to be left alone, solely because they were born with a disability. The thought of doctors and parents together deciding to remove the body parts and stunt the growth of a child based on assumptions about their awareness and quality of life is shocking and disgusting. In one case that stunningly illustrates the assumptions made about these, quote, burdensome people, a jury in Oregon awarded parents $3 million because their child was born with Down syndrome after prenatal testing failed to identify the disability. It was called a, quote, wrongful birth. The reality that this happened and is happening in the United States is an anathema to the core values that we as Americans say we hold. That this is happening to those unable to use their own voice is even worse. The Disability Rights Network, in an effort to shed some light on this barbaric practice and thrust the medical community that supports it into the 21st century, has released this report called Devaluing People with Disabilities, Medical Procedures that Violate Civil Rights. In my more than 30 years as a disability rights attorney and advocate, I often think that I've seen every type of discrimination and harm inflicted upon people with disabilities. Unfortunately, humanity still finds a way to surprise and even shock me. While many people find the Ashley treatment to be eugenics, not medicine, others in the medical community, doctors, medical ethicists, hospitals, and even some parents of children with disabilities argue that no harm has been done because the individuals are believed to be too disabled to know, in their minds justifying the practice of making medical decisions that violate civil rights. My question is why? Every person is born with civil and human rights and an inherent dignity. The presence of a disability does not change that fact. Yet everyday people with disabilities have to fight to be recognized as a whole person. Yes, we have made many positive advancements like the Americans with Disabilities Act, a movement to end institutionalization. However, when something like the Ashley treatment is permitted, even encouraged, there's a slippery slope towards a world where people with disabilities have no value, no rights, and no dignity. Signed, Kurt Decker, Executive Director of this agency. So,
That's got a lot of buzzwords in it that are mostly political in nature.
I noticed that as I was reading it.
So, a lot of that language is meant to do the opposite of what he's claiming. It's actually meant to make the person, the target that they're claiming to defend, think that they're less value than they actually are. And it's one of those weird double think things that I'm guessing this person is definitely a liberal, because that's the type of mentality that usually uses that type of double entendre language. And I know this because I used to be one. And it's a form of bigotry. And it's kind of disgusting.
I don't. So my personal view on this, so I've kind of withheld. I don't know if it came through at all during the stream, but my personal view on it is, I think if you have a situation where the child is unlikely to have a developmental improvement, there's no chance that they're like the odds of it happening anytime in the relative future is slim to none, and even then you're talking probably extremely expensive procedure. That I think if it's in the best interest of the child, not just for the parents, but for the child, which the parents highlighted how this is for the child's benefit too. It's not just the parents' benefit. Then I think you could go through with it. I think
Right.
because you have to think about the psychological impact of, assuming that maybe the person with the disability has more cognitive function than they're letting on. What is it like psychologically maybe to have that impact on the person who's disabled, seeing their caregivers struggle to take care of them,
Because
to be upset.
this is something that shouldn't be routine. It should be something that's evaluated on a case-by-case basis. So, such as with Ashley here, they literally went through a whole rigmarole where they had an ethics panel literally look at this and say, should we do this to this child? And in of people looked at this, and one of them that had it done to her.
Well, she had part of it done. She had the growth attenuation done, but the rest of it.
Yeah, the growth attenuation, like part of the treatment actually done to her for like a kind of a frivolous thing. The parents were afraid she would get too tall, and it was actually for aesthetics and not for anything else. But I mean, that person who had part of the treatment done to her for the wrong reasons literally took a look at the case, met with the parents and everything, and still said, okay, let's go ahead with it. This went through the proper channels.
And you even heard the doctor speak earlier to the idea that this wasn't meant to set a precedent. This was a unique situation, that they weren't trying to make it to where, this starts that, and that basically every case should be looked at individually.
It's not meant to be something that's like routine. It's something that you need to have done where you go through that whole thing where, is this the right decision? You go through a committee, and the committee can strike it down and say, no. Stop being a lazy bitch.
Pretty much.
And that's what needs to happen. So these people that got all up in arms about it, I mean, yeah, fine, get all up in arms about it. But you're throwing a fit over the fact that you basically have a giant infant
that you have to take care of. Someone has to take care of.
Yeah. And and the family didn't want to just pawn her off on somebody else. They wanted to take the responsibility. She's
That's
their
a
child.
big deal.
You know, she's
So-
their child, and they didn't want to pawn her off on someone else and just make her the state's responsibility or anything like that. They took the child, they took the pro-life choice, and they went through with it. They didn't sue the state or the doctor or anything like that and call it a wrongful birth or any stupid crap like that.
Yeah, and I could see why people would be frustrated seeing that, right?
I mean, yeah, I would be frustrated with like that. But you know what? People abort babies when they think they're going to have Down syndrome.
So here's...
so why isn't this guy being all up in arms about that? Because I'll bet you he's pro-choice.
I think he was. I think if you look at that report, I think that might be in there. It was 78 pages, and I didn't have time to read it before today. But one thing I did stumble across, this is courtesy of on the Pillow Angel site, is a scholarly article on growth attenuation therapy, practice and perspectives of pediatric endocrinologists. This was in 2015, if I remember correctly. So the background, it describes what it is. It talks about, the Ashley treatment, how it caused the intense debate, how there's no reliable data. So what they did is they did a survey of, let's see what it is. So the objective was to kind of get some information on it. So the Pediatric Endocrine Society members received questionnaires. So about 1,100 people were sent questionnaires. Consent was implied by participating. Anonymity was ensured by de-identified data collection. So about 284 people, 26% of the members responded. 74% academic physicians completed the survey. Of that, so 62% of respondents have been asked to prescribe growth attenuation therapy, and 27% of respondents have prescribed growth attenuation therapy. So there has been, from the group of physicians here, growth attenuation therapy done. So medications prescribed, it goes through here. How often? It's a number of times, 1 time by 15 respondents, 2 to 5 times by 13, 6 to 10 by 4. So total number of prescriptions is 65 to 120. So for severe physical and cognitive disability, not for my daughter's too tall, but for severe cognitive disability, you had 65 to 120 instances of this occurring by these physicians who, manned up or whatever, and took the survey. And so at least 65 children with severe cognitive disability have been treated with growth attenuation therapy to reduce ultimate height. So here's the respondents' attitudes about it. Growth attenuation therapy is sometimes appropriate. 85% of the group who responded agreed. 33% disagreed. Growth attenuation therapy should be actively offered for cases of severe physical and cognitive disability, not just when raised by parents. Only 25% agreed that it should be actively raised. 75% disagreed. I find that interesting. So they don't want the doctors to bring it up. But if the parents bring it up, then maybe, right?
Yeah,
so I think that's an interesting perspective.
It's something that if the parents want to bring it up, then let them bring it up. But it shouldn't be something that should be actually offered.
So why should it be offered if it's a possible treatment that could help them?
Well, because it should be something that the family should be bringing up if it's a concern for them. It should not be something that's like an active treatment, because it's something that you have to actually think about. Is this right? And it's not actually a treatment. It's more of a mitigation.
So how do you how do you know if it's right for you if you can't bring it up to if the doctor can't bring it up to you or doesn't want to bring it up to you, how can you know if it's right for your family? It's a kind of double-edged sword. So if I could potentially benefit from my family with, say, my child has this disability and they would really benefit from it, but I can't give it to them, how do I know if it's right? Because this could possibly be a huge game changer. I just don't know about it because I'm a boomer or whatever. Like, I don't know how to work the internet. I don't know that this is a thing. So
okay,
I could see how bringing it up is bad too, because it could be easy to manipulate.
It shouldn't be offered in every case, but maybe it should be something that should be the doctor can send the case off to a committee, and the committee could make recommendations or something.
So, and if you look down here too, let me zoom in a bit. Ah, damn it.
Haha, boomer.
So diagnoses prompting growth attenuation therapy inquiries. 45% tall stature, 55% severe physical and cognitive disability. So the majority was for severe physical and cognitive disability. We have, so reasons respondents did not prescribe growth attenuation therapy in children with severe physical and cognitive disability. So this is the reasons why the doctors chose not to prescribe the treatment. So a family decided against it with 63%. That's a huge choice, right? So, which makes sense. 43% concerns about side effects, makes sense. 13% had legal concerns and concerns about publicity at 13% also.
Yeah.
I could see why. Obviously, this family got shit on for it
Yeah.
hardcore. Personal convictions or beliefs, 10%, fair enough. Ethics consultation recommendation, 7%. Okay, fair enough. So, and that's low. So, I mean, but this year, the family's like, no, this isn't what we want. And like the doctor said, he didn't want this to become a common thing. He wanted the legislation to be out there to help adapt houses and adopt things to make, you don't need this. Like, that was the goal. That was the intention. And it was like totally fucking opposite direction it went. Like, totally, instead of it being something you could use to legislate with, they used it to attack people with. Like, he thought that the disability organizations would be like, look, you could use this to, help support getting more grants for housing adaptations and shit. Like, that makes sense. That was actually like a logical thought process to me.
Yeah, but I mean,
As we could see,
these
that's
type
not
of
always how
people
it
don't
works.
do that because they use these type of things
Yeah.
to get rich off of.
Fair enough. So, and then you have the passive growth attenuation therapy experience. Have you withheld treatment for precocious puberty in a child with severe physical and cognitive disability to reduce ultimate height? So have they withheld it? No, 52%, 48% said yes. And so let's go over here to the rest of the stats. So conclusions.
So, real
what's
quick, I
that?
have a question. Is this any different than puberty blockers?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Just making sure.
puberty blockers prevent the beginning of puberty, or they
Okay.
halt it, or they can delay it. Whereas this process effectively supercharges how you basically make you go through puberty fast is shit, right?
Okay.
So what it does is what they do is they give you high doses of estrogen to basically cause your growth plates to close so you can't get beyond a certain size, so you hit a certain limit. So because the child started puberty at 6, you can do that really quick. So their ultimate size, again, 20 to 40% smaller overall, which is still a helpful thing. And it's not like puberty blockers where I take this medication until I want to start puberty or start a different type of puberty, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does that
You
make
know what's
sense?
funny is that the type of people that throw a fit over this type of therapy also advocate for the use of puberty blockers in children, which we still don't know the full effects of using puberty blockers on children that young.
So I think that, like you said, those long-term studies are missing, but I still think, I had a whole series on that.
And this is on healthy children.
On this, you mean on
Puberty
the cognitive-
blockers on children that have full cognitive abilities, and half the time it's their parents forcing it on them.
I mean, I believe that's a whole controversial topic in its own on
Right.
on
But
gender
this-
transition and puberty blockers for children.
Right, but this goes hand in hand with it because the same people that are throwing a fit about this are the same people saying that a 3-year-old should be put on puberty blockers.
Oh no, I don't think any. And that's the thing is, I think the people who are pushing that aren't people who have an understanding of how the process works.
Which are the same people that don't understand how this process works.
True, but I don't think there's a legitimate push for young children to, and I say legitimate like backed by legitimate organizations or people.
Oh no,
or
none of
things.
these organizations are actually legitimate. The problem is that they have government backing by politicians and people like the director whose letter you just read.
Yeah, and I think they're what the hell? Damn it, I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
I'm trying to multitask on something to try. I'm trying to keep an eye on something here. I think you know what I'm talking about. Let's see here.
Actually, I'm not entirely sure what you put talking about, but okay.
The other thing that was posted in the Discord that I'm just trying to keep an eye on it to make sure nothing's going on there.
Oh, they're actually stream sniping somebody else's stream.
Yeah, I know. I just making sure. Is
Yeah.
all. So, just keeping an eye on it. I got some funny screenshots from it too. So
They're dumb.
they are. God, that was frustrating. But so
Yeah.
as we can see, the results of this survey that was done on endocrinologists, pediatric endocrinologists, right, is growth attenuation therapy has been prescribed by at least 32 respondents to reduce height in at least 65 children with severe physical cognitive disabilities. The therapy is no longer rare. At least 62% of respondents have inquiries for it, and 27% have prescribed it. Severe physical and cognitive disability has replaced tall stature as the main indication for GAT inquiries. That's awesome, because it's no longer just about tall, being tall, and we want to be shorter. It's how do I help my child who has this cognitive impairment or this disability, because this is a way that can help them, and they're seeking out that treatment to potentially be of a potential use for them, instead of it just being what the hell is something to help with like just a physical look, like just I'm tall, I want to be short. So
Yo, I'm short. I want to be tall. Do they do this for adults, man?
so actually there's something I can discuss, but if I discuss it on stream, people will think I'm weird for knowing it. There's a way to grow taller and a way to deal with other issues that involve short stature as a child, but
Yeah.
you can't do it as an adult.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
More
As
data,
an adult, you got to get the leg lengthening crap done.
you could do it Soviet Union style, where they stretch your legs enough to where it breaks and constantly heals to like an electrostatic effect or something like that. As I was
It's
reading
not
up
just
on.
the Soviet Union way,
Though
dude.
they did it hardcore that way though. So
Well,
more
I
data is
mean,
needed.
yeah, they
hold.
actually like yank you on like a rack or some crap, because Soviet Union, in Soviet Russia, legs stretch you, but whatever. But no, I've seen that in the movie Gattaca, where like they literally surgically like graft like pins to your legs and stuff, and like break your bone, and then like minutely, and then like you have to dial it up and stretch your legs out, your bones out like friggin' slowly over time, and like then wait for the bone to grow in. And it's like a severely painful process. Like you can't like walk or anything while it's happening. Yeah. Like I know the process. It's just like, ouch. It's also expensive.
No. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I lost a fucking connection. God damn it. I was down for like 30 seconds or something. But
Well, I hope that I kept the chat entertained while you were gone. By the way, dude, seriously,
what?
100-foot Ethernet cable.
I already have one.
Take it from the router into your office and plug your dang-gum laptop into it. Wired connection is always greater than Wi-Fi.
Again? Yes, it is. God damn it.
Wired connection is always greater than Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi is always better. There's no such thing as a wired connection.
No, wired connection is based. Wired connection is based. You know what I have right now? A wireless connection.
Wireless.
Wired.
Like an adult.
I have a wired connection like an adult.
I have a phone. I don't have a cell phone. I have one of those phones that has like a 50-foot cable on it so you can walk around the house with it. Aha.
You know what? My mom used to do that too. We had a phone in the kitchen that we would buy a 25-foot cable for. so she
Yeah.
could like walk from the kitchen to the dining room and whatnot. And by the time we had to replace that cable, it usually stretched out to about 50 to 100 feet.
Nice.
It would go all the way to the front door.
What is this? Is this a video?
I
Can
don't
I even
know.
get this? I'm trying to find. I'm on the Internet Archive trying to find something from the doctor who we watched the video from. He did another interview. I found the text, like a transcript of some interview he did about this topic, and it was kind of addressing some of the similar points of the what is it? The ethics and the concerns and stuff. So it's downloading. We'll see if it'll download. It's a .mov file. So, but
Oh dear Jesus!
I know it's from 2008. Don't hate.
Dude, I'm gonna hate all I want because that is just the absolute worst. .mov, bro, like bro, that's like some Apple shit.
What is it?
You have to have an Apple player to play that.
I have a what is it? I have VLC and I also have MPC-BE.
Is VLC actually gonna play it?
I've got like one of those massive codec packs that has like all the codecs.
All right.
I'm mostly technically inclined. I just for some reason always fuck up every time I go live. It's like everything just fucks up every time I go live. So
Yeah,
I
pretty
don't know
much.
why. So, but
Oh, okay. .mov does actually play with it with VLC. Okay, that's good to know.
yeah, it does.
Fucking hate .mov though.
Why?
really
It was
did.
a good code. It was a good codec at the time.
No, it's fucking Apple, and I hate Apple.
Apple's awesome. Apple's better than Android. I can't even say that without hurting inside.
Yeah, especially
So,
since you said
it's sad.
Apple. You kept saying Apple, like you're
So-
freaking German. Apple, Apple.
I need to. I'm going to confirm with one of our potential guests for this weekend, and I might have a short video being released tomorrow.
Oh, you're doing videos?
Well, it's a very short video announcing the potential thing that's going to happen this weekend. I just have to confirm with the guest that we'll be able to do it, because I had to deal with all my personal stuff over the weekend. So, because I was planning on it for last weekend, but obviously it didn't happen. So I'm going to aim for this weekend for something awesome on Saturday, and it'll be a really fun fucking day if it works out. I'm going to try and stream again tomorrow.
Oh God, is this going to be something that's going to really, really irk the fat mans?
Tomorrow? No, I'm not trying to.
No, I meant the special guest.
It's the person who we talked about before coming on and doing the live with. That guy, who's awesome. I don't care if he comes on. It'll be fun.
Oh,
'cause he's
the guy that does 8-hour streams. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that guy who always seems to have really long streams with me.
Yeah.
So he might be coming on as a guest. I gotta confirm first.
Okay.
If he's good, then we're gonna do that whole thing. We're gonna do the special event stuff too. I'm gonna try and stream tomorrow in the early morning, afternoon time slot again to see what my viewership looks like during the week. I'm trying to figure out what times work best for viewership. Like for example, today it was like up in the 15s, almost 20, and then it dipped down when we started watching the video. I don't know why. I don't know if it was just hate watchers or what.
It's because you banned that one chick, and they're all like, "Well, fine then." And then apparently, because you weren't doing anything Sophie related, and I wasn't up here like being a hella bitch,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't being a hella bitch.
That's
in
one way to
chat
put it.
either.
That was
Yeah.
one way to put it.
We were discussing intellectual things, and well, I mean,
Well, no, apparently I can't because that's not appropriate either for some reason.
she tried, and then she got banned because you wouldn't play her stupid game. She got pissed off.
I'm not
and
playing that
decided to
game
go-
anymore. Fuck it.
Yeah,
I'm done
she
with
got
it.
pissed off and decided to go somewhere else.
Yeah, where
So,
she's
I
talking
mean-
about how much dick she gets. Apparently, I have clips of that. So, just because
I'm
I have a
guessing she
screenshot
heard.
of that.
I'm guessing she heard that I made comments about her mouth and her voice.
No,
sounding
she
like
was. She's talking in chat about something, so I grabbed a snapshot of it.
Okay, that's funny.
Oh, I did lose people and I had to restart the computer too. Fuck, that's true. And I also probably lost
Yes.
people and I had to change the stream earlier too. That didn't help.
That too.
God damn it.
Yeah, I mean,
let's see here.
yeah, I mean, you might have also lost people, and I told you were unprofessional.
When was I being unprofessional?
When I made fun of you for being late and having so many problems.
Oh, that's probably true.
It's okay. I was airing up my tires anyway.
It's okay. I'm still having fun I love getting the comments. I love reading because I have that, if you do YouTube, you have the dashboard that lets you see all your comments and stuff on all your videos.
Yeah.
And I love just seeing all the random ass comments people post on my videos, especially by one person who loves me, and not just my own comments, but in other people's comment sections and YouTube live chats too.
Yeah, that guy's kind of weird.
I agree.
But I guess maybe he's like the fat man's and he wants your D too.
Possibly.
It's really weird. Like, everybody wants your D, and it's like, I don't want your D, but everybody else wants your D.
Say, it'll be interesting to see, because I at this point with that person, I'm always fucking with him in 𝗦𝘂𝗽𝗍𝗿 chat. Like, at this point, I'm just fucking with him because I don't care. But apparently that's wrong and unethical.
Who cares?
But I did get fucking a sad voicemail yesterday, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to deal with it. And it was not related to anything YouTube, but related to one of my clients, and it really brought me the fuck down. And I'm trying to figure out how the fuck I can deal with it because I'm bothered by it, and I'm trying to do my best for them.
We'll talk about that one off stream.
Oh yeah, it's just I got the message, and it's a very specific client, and it's a very specific situation, and I'm like, fuck, this is the fallout I knew was going to happen, and I'm so stressed about it, and I'm so mad about it. So
yeah,
it's like that, and it's like, what the fuck do I do? Because I'm fucking stressed out. So and it's like I really want to be doing that supportive part to help, because they're wanting to re-engage services. So I'm trying to make that happen somehow, I guess, which will be fun, because it's just so much.
You might have to contact your former employer and ask, why they didn't attempt to better transition these former clients.
It was a call from a separate agency contacting me about them wanting to see if they can continue service with me. And it's an agency that I don't want them to be involved with, that they shouldn't have to deal with. And it's not bad, but it's still fucking frustrating. And I know. Right. I hate that none of this should have ever happened that way.
Yeah.
And it's fucking awful, and it's sad, it's sick and pathetic that these motherfuckers would do that. There's so much stuff I want to say. There's so many things I want to say. There's so much I would love to let out, but I'm not. I know I shouldn't, and I know I shouldn't. And it's so goddamn hard. It's so difficult to hold it in. And I know it's the right way to deal with it, but fuck in there. Fuck this shit, man. It's so stupid. It's so goddamn stupid.
But to distract from that, Shinobu's right. DivX was cancer.
Hey, I liked DivX. DivX was a great
codec.
Was
fucking cancer, man. That thing was bullshit from the start. Every time you had to freaking update a computer or anything like that, you always had to go search for DivX. And like, anytime something changed, you had to go find another download for DivX. And it's like, DivX. And that damn thing would break if you looked at it cross-eyed.
Are you trying to say DivX was worse than a real player?
We won't talk about real player.
Real player, I love real player so much that once my streams are done, I convert all my videos to real player.
I fucking hate you. We can't be friends.
and I upload them to the Internet Archive just in real player format, just to
Oh
fucking
my
hate everyone.
fucking God.
No, I don't do that. I don't do that. I don't do that. That's an awful. I could
You
not
are
do
a
that to.
fucking sadist.
That's sick torture that no one should ever do.
fucking masochist.
Shinobu points out the real reason of real player. Emerson.rm. God damn it. Rip.
Real player
Duquesne,
playing porn, yeah.
Duquesne, I'm working on that. The point is, at this point, I'm not saying whether or not I'm employed because I don't want anyone looking for me. Looking for any current or future employer. So I'm holding back on whether or not I'm
shit,
employed.
man. He works at the Wendy's on the goddamn corner. Come on now.
No, I just don't know. I don't want anyone contacting the agency.
Yo, dude, he give me free chicky nuggies every Wednesday.
I just don't want to deal with this again. I want to be able to do what I'm doing, and I want to be able to do therapy. I don't see why that can't work.
He just doesn't want to let you all know that he gives me free chicky nuggies.
That too. But, and crayons.
And the crayons.
The crayons are for eating. The chicken nuggies are for drawing.
He thinks I use the crayons for eating, but I actually use them for coloring. I eat the chicky nuggies.
Don't fucking lie. But
with the barbecue sauce, man, he gets the hookup.
All right, so I think I've summarized this situation as best as I can. I got that video. I'll look it over another time and see if it's worth mentioning in a future stream. I'm gonna see what's up. I'm gonna try and come up with something for tomorrow for a stream. I have no idea what the hell the topic's gonna be at this point. I'll probably come up with something. I might do a DSM deep dive on some diagnosis because it's been a while since I've done something like that.
Yeah, you'll have to do it alone though, because I'll be at work.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the right time slot to fucking go in because the evening slot was the one that got a lot of votes on the poll, but I didn't seem to have as many viewers. So I'm trying to find more.
I think we got back to the viewership that we had originally because most of the time, especially on the weekends, you have a lot of fat mats watching you, and right now they're fucking off in their own little corner, and that's fine. I mean,
viewership is engagement. I just need to grow the channel.
To be quite honest, you need a bit more time.
What do you mean?
To announce your streams.
You mean like more than an hour notice?
Yes, more than an hour's notice, Ken, for fuck's sake.
Hey, that's not nice.
Jesus Christ, Ken.
What's wrong with an hour notice? So
nobody can plan for this shit.
Listen in the background like most other people fucking do.
Bro. Like, how about like you say, hey, I'm going to stream on this night like a week in advance, and then like the day before you put up the damn notification.
Let's see here. What do I want to do for topic tomorrow? Where's my stupid goddamn thing? Let's do what's been on my list of shit that I've been wanting to do for streams. I can't do that without Drexel. What else is here? That's the next topic. That topic will be fucking great once I get Drexel on to do it.
If all of your topics are, that'll be great when I can get Drexel on.
No, it's just the one.
Okay.
I'm wondering if I should do some short videos for the channel like Nick does, because I think he said it helps in the algorithm.
Yeah, you can do a few short ones. You can do
like a few short 2, 3, 4 minute videos, maybe on different DSM topics or mental health shit, and just do those.
Yeah, you can do some like 10-minute ones like that.
I just hate recording shit because I hate editing.
You hate recording shit. So you just okay. Nick doesn't edit any fucking thing.
No, he records like 5 fucking times if he fucks up is the problem.
Exactly. So you just do that.
I know, it's just frustrating.
You fucking dump the file and then you re-record it if you fuck it up. And that way you're only recording like 8 to 10 minutes. Because guess what? You only have to have 8 minutes in order to fucking put a damn mid-roll in.
I don't even care about the mid-roll. The ads don't make much money. Superchats is where the money is.
Right, but to monetize it, you only need fucking 8 minutes now. So 8 to 10 minutes, or 10 minutes tops. There you fucking go. If you fuck it up, redo it.
Yeah,
or if you fuck it up, just keep going.
I'm going to pick a few nights a week, and I'm going to try and consistently stream on those nights of the week.
Okay.
because you're familiar with what's going on in the background. So
Yeah.
I got some a little bit more availability in that regard, and so I'm gonna try and do that. I'm gonna try and
Yeah.
stream, see if I can make any money. I don't want this to be for money, but if I can make a decent income off of this, then I'll do it. I
Right.
need to have the people participate
many-
and engage in.
How many times a week do you want to do it?
I'm looking at 3 to 4 times a week.
All
at
right,
the
Monday,
minimum.
Wednesday, Friday.
I'm looking at doing like either Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm trying to do maybe weekends because I know more people are available.
Okay, well, so all right, then Tuesday and
it'll
Thursday, and
depend.
then Sunday and Saturday.
I'm also gonna do something tomorrow, which is Wednesday, because it's fuck it, because I'm trying to stream some more at least.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Alright.
I might stream tomorrow at like 11ish, 11:50, like my old style time.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're at work, so you can't like jump in, but
No, but I
It'll-
might be at lunch, and I can at least like
whatever.
mod some.
Also, people are also
Don't
welcome
choose
to
a fucking cringe topic.
like what?
Like anything that's gonna trigger the fucking fat mads.
The thing is it doesn't matter what I pick. They're gonna get triggered either way.
Okay, well, I'm banning fat mads on site.
I'm done with them. They can go away. I don't care about them anymore.
All right, excellent. They're getting banned on site.
Just ban them all. I don't fucking care. You can pre-ban them for all I care at this point. I'm just
Fuck
done with
yeah.
that shit. I am just done with that shit. It's no fucking need to deal with that. It's not worth the stress. And they're doing nothing but they're selfish fucking cunts and pricks. And wait, abusive advocacy, a bit spicy if you're trying to lay low. So when you say abusive advocacy, what do you mean by that? Akari, however the fuck you pronounce that. So how do you define abusive advocacy? Because I mean, obviously that's its own discussion there, but let's see.
Maybe like what the director of that disabilities thing is. Like it's an advocacy group, or like ASAN, where all they
Maybe.
do is run a smear campaign against Autism Speaks, and they pocket the rest of the money. And they don't
Say-
actually do anything to help autistic people.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow yet. I'm probably gonna come up with something. We'll see what happens. Let's see. I'm just trying to make sure. I'm trying to read the thing real quick. And yeah, I don't see anything important here because they're all crazy fuckers. Okay, so I'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and end it for tonight. I know it ran a little bit longer than I planned on. So, but thank you everyone for showing up. You came, and anyone else who super chatted or donated or whatever. Thank you for your assistance. I'm gonna try and do maybe a local stream this week too. I gotta announce it too. We'll see. But yes, shortest mic. That I'm not commenting on that. But that's wrong.
Ooh, maybe you can cover like all the weirdos that keep attacking William Shatner on Twitter.
Why are they attacking William Shatner?
Like, why aren't they attacking him? They keep attacking him because he supports Autism Speaks. They attack him with like fake photoshops because he went up into space with Blue
Everyone
Origin.
wants me to stream on Christian. I'm not doing a stream on Christian.
Like, Christian doesn't
Not
need
anytime
another
soon.
stream. Like,
No,
let
Christian-
his next court date come up and let Nick cover that.
Christian has all the attention he ever needs.
Yeah.
And then some. It's not because I don't want to do a Christian stream. I think it'll be interesting. I don't want to have to do all the research to make sure I'm not missing anything on a Christian stream.
Oh my God, you don't really have to do a whole lot of research.
I know enough, but it's
He
'cause,
got
like,
trolled by the internet into thinking he was trans. And then he fucked his mother. Oh, excuse me, raped his mother.
look, it happens to everyone. Stop judging people, Twisted.
I'm gonna judge him all I want.
If you
the
haven't-
dude is a
it hap-
fucking creepoid.
Look, if you haven't accidentally tripped and done that, like, it happens.
He did it on purpose. It wasn't an accident.
He tripped and fell. It was an accident.
It was not an accident.
I know, I'm joking, obviously. But
And I hope he goes to jail for it.
I probably will.
more than likely, I don't think he's gonna get fucking ruled like too incompetent to freaking stand trial on this one. I'm pretty
Unlikely.
sure all that fake bullshit he was doing isn't gonna amount to shit because he can tell right from wrong.
I can't wait for the merge to finish happening is all. I just
There
want the
is no
merge.
damn merge.
There is a merge happening. So the dimensional merge is on. So
Yeah, the problem is that he's got it all wrong. The universes cannot merge.
they
There are beings in place that have put barriers in place that keep the universes from merging.
they
So they can't merge.
okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and end this because we got to discuss something in Discord now. I'm about to start tripping my shit in a minute. So, thanks everyone for showing up. Twisted, thank you for jumping on.
You're welcome.
I look forward to seeing everyone hopefully tomorrow some point. I'm gonna try and stream late morning, early afternoon, as long as I get up. I've been having trouble with my sleep the last few days because I've been so fucking tired. But
Take your
I'm gonna do
medication
that.
correctly.
I know. Shut up. It's hard.
Actually, take
It's hard
the
to do
fucking
that.
medication.
Well, I need to get my BiPAP and start using it again. It's in the other room. I just haven't fucking used it right.
Oh my God! Stop falling asleep at your damn computer.
That too. But I will see everyone tomorrow. Hopefully. Thank you for showing up. No outro today because I'm trying to configure another outro so I don't use the intro with it too because it counts down. I'm putting another outro together. So just to have something that's different. But thanks everyone for showing up. Take care. Have a good night. And then I'm
Baby
just
shark.
I'm ending the stream and I'm removing you from panel. Good night, everybody. Thanks for showing up. Have a great evening. Take care. See you tomorrow.